Chapter 11:11. Blood and Tears. The Conspiracy Behind the Intelligent Plague. Emergency Notice. Those black market hires to smuggle the virus are a scam. It's very likely to be the bait of the three universal civilizations. I'm the player who shared the virus smuggling hires on the forums. An hour ago, I brought my guild to the edge of the ancient star desert and was ambushed by the three universal civilizations. Black Star personally took action and wiped out our entire guild. Now we're all sealed in the spacetime amber. I don't know how long it'll take for us to be unsealed. I'm probably going to be crippled. I didn't know where the news got leaked. Luckily, Black Star thought that we had nowhere to run and felt that we couldn't leak the secret, so he revealed the plan of the three universal civilizations. I was really shocked. I didn't expect the three universal civilizations' spies to be among those anonymous hires on the black market. Their goal is to lure out those who dare to accept the mission and take them out one by one. It's too scary. Currently, other than our guild, no one else knows about this secret. I'm posting now because I can't bear to see other brothers being scammed by the three universal civilizations. Therefore, I'm warning everyone not to fall into Black Star's trap. In order to prove that he was not lying, Depressed Prince even posted a screenshot and a video of Black Star speaking. As soon as the post was posted, it was like a lit match was thrown into a pool of methane. The players from the Troublemakers and Order faction all exploded. Triple treason, shocking. So those black market hires are actually baiting the system? Sigma, degree winky face. More important things to consider. I knew it. How could those lawful factions not care about such an oversight? It turns out that they had another plan. The three universal civilizations are cunning and scheming, sinister and cunning. This move was played beautifully **** military chief. Black Star is indeed Black Star. Just like his name, he's really black-hearted. Qingningsi. Haha, I'm dying of laughter. Where are those little biscuits who are envious of the ancient star desert players? Why aren't they saying anything? Slay people but not slay karma. In this case, the factions of this main storyline are very clear. Those who oppose the disaster will stand on the side of order, while those who support the disaster will go against the three universal civilizations. I really admire the courage of these players. If I don't go to hell, who will? Degree. The Order faction players who were against adding fuel to the fire started to gloat. On the other hand, the players who were in favor of spreading the disaster were all shocked and speechless. This was especially true for those players who had been tempted by the sky-high rewards and had already accepted the job on the black market. They were all shocked, and a large number of them hurriedly cancelled the job, afraid that they would also be baited by the three universal civilizations. Tender cow eats old grass. Let me see who is causing trouble. Black Star shows his head out of the bush. JPG. Army Commanders PP. Black Star. Pa, your account is gone. Vessel #. Immortal Bootlicker Society. Sigh, if it weren't for the OP we would still be in the dark and we would also be caught by the law enforcers. I won't say much, but the OP saved our lives. That's very loyal of you. I'll drink to show my respect. Peach Full Network Senior Member. In order to get this information, the OP has sacrificed too much. Good people live a peaceful life. P.S. If the OP is prepared to change his account, I can donate 100 anas. Fu Ding Support Group Go Erpeo. My condolences to the OP, carrot. Fish don't piss. My condolences +1 Hella's liquor number 666. Brother, I think you should stop calling yourself Depressed Prince and change it to Depressed Prince, *** winky face. It was not that no one doubted the authenticity of the post, but after seeing the screenshots and videos posted by Depressed Prince, they could only admit that it was the truth. Melancholic Prince's post caused the majority of players to be on guard. Many of them were truly shocked and they became paranoid. They did not want to harm Melancholy. He thought that he had successfully destroyed the three universal civilizations' fishing operation and vented his anger, but in reality, his actions did not escape Han Zhao's calculations. A pair of eyes hidden in the dark were watching the forums. Seeing that so many players believed the fishing operation and rejected the missions to smuggle the virus, Han Zhao knew that his actions had worked. He could not help but smile. Depressed. Oh, this guy had changed his name. Depressed Prince had done a good job this time, so his sentence could be reduced by a few minutes. Although this guy was still in the dark, immersed in the fantasy of venting his anger. Ancient Star Desert, Planet Strange Gold. This planet did not belong to any civilization. Many years ago, it was contracted by a few financial groups and transformed into a galactic neutral port. Later, the galactic black market took over and turned it into a transit supply station for the Grey organizations. It was quite famous in the ancient Star Desert. Traces of various wanted criminals and a large number of Grey organizations could be seen here. At the same time, many Grey organizations had their headquarters or branches here. Due to some tacit understanding and transactions, the galactic civilizations tacitly allowed such Grey transit stations to exist and would not send guards to suppress them. Although this place was chaotic, it was not a lawless area. The large organizations in the black market would often establish order here. The organization in charge of Planet Strange Gold was one of the black market managers, the Black Index. This was an organization of brokers. There were many types of organizations in the black market management, such as mercenaries, arms dealers, mining teams, and so on. Among them, the one with the most power was the broker industry. They walked the path of the upper class, wandering between different civilizations, and had complicated relationship. They provided protection and guarantees for other black market organizations. The Black Index was such an organization, and their business was even richer. They used the reputation they had accumulated over the years to provide guarantees for the employment and auctions in the black market. They also had the function of an intermediate exchange, which was basically the black market's version of a bank. The security of funds had always been a concern of the Grey organizations, and all the financial transactions of the Black Index were confidential. Countless black money flowed through them every day, radiating to the entire galactic black market. One could imagine how powerful they were. Huge power required an equal amount of strength to maintain, not to mention in the Grey world where the strong preyed on the weak. The Black Index had enough funds to maintain a huge military force. At the same time, they had a beyond grade A protector behind them. These factors ensured that the Black Index had a very high position among the black market managers. The upper echelons of the organization were called indexers. The leader was the chief indexer, followed by the second, third, and so on. There were a total of 5 deputy leaders, all the way to the 6th. At this moment, in the headquarters of the Black Index organization in Planet Strange Gold, the third indexer, who was in charge of the ancient Star Desert business, was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in his office. He looked up at the stars in the dark sky and frowned slightly. His adjutant, who was wearing an exquisite silver-black uniform, walked into the room and asked curiously, "Third indexer, what are you thinking about?" "Nothing. I just feel a little uneasy all of a sudden." The third indexer raised his hand and rubbed between his eyebrows. He was a little distracted. As a mixed-blood immortal, the third indexer had a special talent. His sixth sense was very sharp, and he could occasionally vaguely sense fragments of the future. Since a few days ago, he had been constantly distracted and felt uneasy, as if something bad was about to happen. "Then I'll go get you some medicine to calm you down first." The adjutant turned around and was about to leave. "No need, I'm fine." The third indexer stopped him, turned around and asked casually, Tell me, what do you have to report to me?" "It's like this." The adjutant took out a report and said with a serious expression, "I found some rumors." It's rumored that the three universal civilizations are secretly spreading the black market employment on a large scale to catch the black market mercenaries. Where did you get this information from? The rumors on the internet? The third indexer could not help but frown. No, there are no such rumors on the ancient Star Desert's Starfield network. I heard some people talking about it in private, so I did some investigation in secret and found out that I don't know how this rumor started. I think it might be a hidden danger, so I'm here to report it to you. The third indexer shook his head. The source of your information is unreliable and not trustworthy. As the guarantor of the black market employment, although we accept applications from anonymous employers, we will still investigate to a certain extent. This kind of phishing is destroying our reputation. We can tolerate it once or twice, but if they want to use our reputation to carry out this plan on a large scale, there's no way the organization won't notice anything. You're right. I did something unnecessary. The adjutant nodded. You didn't do anything wrong. It's good to have such vigilance. The third indexer continued to look out of the window and said earnestly, We're the lighthouse of order in the black market. On one hand, we rely on our powerful organization, and on the other hand, we rely on the reputation we've accumulated over the years. The criminals of the gray organizations believe in our professional integrity, which is our core competitiveness. At any time, even in the face of death, we can't break the rules of integrity, confidentiality, fairness, and safety. Otherwise, we'll damage the foundation of the organization and the order of the entire black market. Understood. The adjutant took note of it and admired him in his heart. Swoosh. As soon as he said that, a remote communications screen popped up beside the two of them, showing the panicked face of an observer. Not good. The radar detected a dynasty fleet approaching. They're not hiding their tracks. Their destination is Planet Strange Gold. They didn't notify us in advance. The third indexer's expression changed. His sixth sense became stronger and stronger. Normally, the three universal civilizations would not visit the Gray Transit Station so openly. Today, however, the dynasty's fleet had suddenly arrived as an uninvited guest. Clearly, they did not come with good intentions. He immediately thought of the intelligent plague. Other than this, the dynasty did not seem to have any other reason to come. However, the third indexer was someone who had been through a lot. He calmed down very quickly and said with a deep voice, Ask around. Ask around, who is the leader of this fleet? The dynasty had a huge background, but he was also an important person in the galaxy with power and influence. He even had a beyond grade A protector as his backer, so the third indexer still had the confidence to talk to the dynasty. Thinking of this, he secretly made a decision. If the dynasty's leader did not have a high rank, he felt that there was no need to go out of his way to welcome him. He might as well wait here for the dynasty to come and talk to him. The adjutant communicated for a while. Suddenly, he shuddered, swallowed, and said with a trembling voice, Third indexer, the commander of this dynasty fleet seems to be Black Star. As soon as he said that, the third indexer's expression changed drastically, and he lost his cool. Without another word, he rushed out of the door and ordered anxiously, Quick! Prepare the vehicle for me. I'm going to the dock to welcome His Excellency Black Star. If it were a normal officer of the dynasty, the third indexer could still put on airs because of his identity. However, the one who came was the infamous Black Star. Even the strongest protector of the black market had become his collection. How could he have the guts to stay at home and wait for Black Star to come? The dynasty fleet sailed into the spaceport. As soon as Han Shao stepped onto the dock, he saw the third indexer and a group of subordinates coming to welcome him respectfully. The two of them met. Han Shao did not bother to greet him but said that he wanted to talk about a deal. He asked the third indexer to lead the way to the meeting room. Under the careful escort of the third indexer, The group arrived at the Black Index's planet branch and sat down in the meeting room. After sitting down, Han Shao looked up at the third indexer opposite him and said slowly, "You're a smart person. I'm sure you know why the dynasty is here, so I won't beat around the bush with you." The Black Index provided guarantees for anonymous hires, which led to a large number of black market mercenaries smuggling the virus in the ancient star desert, increasing the risk of the virus leaking. Now, on behalf of the Black Star Corps and the Red Empire, I ask you to stop providing guarantees for anonymous hires and release the information of these anonymous hires so that we can capture them more easily. Impossible. The third indexer rejected immediately. This is not in line with the mission of the Black Index. We will never leak the information of our users. Han Shao interrupted him and said with a deep tone, "Is the mission of your black market organization higher than the ruling rights of the three universal civilizations? Or is it that the Black Index is determined to spread the disaster and put the entire universe in danger?" The third indexer hurriedly protested. "Of course not. We've only been neutral. Before and after the outbreak of the intelligent plague, nothing changed. We're just maintaining this platform. Don't try to brush me off like that." Han Shao tapped the table and slowly said, "If you don't do anything, you'll leak the virus. If you don't do anything, you're tacitly allowing others to leak the virus. If you don't do anything, you're adding fuel to the fire. The current situation does not allow for the existence of neutral parties. Neither I nor the three universal civilizations want to see anyone speculating in a serious disaster." Hearing this, the third indexer's expression changed. His bad feeling came true. He felt that Black Star was using this as an excuse to take away the black market guarantee platform that they had been operating for a long time in the ancient star desert. If it was just Black Star alone, he would not be so helpless. However, Black Star was here on orders, which meant that he had the Imperial Sword in his hand, representing the attitude of the three universal civilizations. While the Black Index's organization was spread throughout the various star fields, it would be a piece of cake for the three universal civilizations to crush it. Furthermore, the ancient star desert was sealed now, so they could not get any help from the outside world. The third indexer was unwilling, but he had no other choice. He could not even inform the headquarters in the ancient star desert, so he could only brace himself and ask for help. "Your Excellency Black Star, do you really have to do this? We have His Excellency URU behind us. Like you, he's also a beyond grade A." Han Shao was amused. "Oh, look at you. Are you trying to threaten me or something? You've got guts. Putting aside the fact that your protector can't come back, even if he does, what can you do?" The third indexer clenched his teeth, glanced at the dynasty soldiers beside him, and mustered up his courage. "I know what you're trying to do. You want to use this opportunity to infiltrate the black market and control some channels. The three universal civilizations have tacitly approved of your actions now, but what about after the disaster is over? They won't let you stretch your hands so far and will definitely accept your result. Therefore, what you're doing now will only benefit the three universal civilizations in the end. Why do you have to be so aggressive? How dare you? How dare you sow discord?" The dynasty officer beside him was enraged. He pulled out his gun and pointed it at the third indexer's head. This time, Han Shao raised his hand, signaled for the dynasty officer to put away his weapon, and said with a smile, "You don't know me. You don't understand me. Although I'm just a profit-seeking person, I won't stand on the wrong side when it comes to such a major issue." The third indexer clenched his teeth and tried his best to provoke him. "The three universal civilizations tacitly approved of you because they're using you. You're the one who offended the various black market organizations, and the three universal civilizations will then come and take the fruits of victory." Is the Great Black Star willing to be used? It's everyone's responsibility to eliminate evil. So what if I offended you? Han Shao smiled playfully. Furthermore, using each other is a mutual matter. It's hard to say who benefits and who loses. He was definitely going to take the Black Indexer this time. Instead of calling it a negotiation, it was more like a notification. The ancient Star Desert was now an isolated island. Under the catalysis of the disaster, the hypocrisy of equality had been torn off, and the face of a dictator was completely revealed. With the three universal civilizations backing him up, he had nothing to worry about. Under such circumstances, other than the galactic civilizations that were protected, the other private organizations were just food in front of the shark. As long as they did not cooperate, they would be wiped out. Seeing this, the third indexer knew that he could not go against this. It was useless to be stubborn. He immediately gave up and leaned back with a hopeless expression. I can't resist anyway. I'll leave all the channels of the Black Indexer in the ancient Star Desert to you. Hearing this, the adjutant looked at the third indexer in disbelief, questioning him. That's not what you said just now. Didn't you say that you can't destroy the reputation of the organization even if you die? Sensing the adjutant's gaze, the third indexer glared back. What, can't I brag a little? Black Star is sitting opposite me. My life is more important. If you want to die, you die. Only by knowing when to yield and when to stand tall can you show your true colors. The weather has been getting colder recently. I have a feeling that I'm going to catch a cold. Smiley face 3 angle _ Chapter 11-12. The Black Index branch on planet Strange Gold controlled half of the galactic black market in the ancient Star Desert. Controlling this place meant that half of the galactic black market was under their control. In the main control room, the third indexer ordered the operators to open the firewall and let Han Shao insert a data probe, injecting a large number of surveillance programs. He also pulled up the recent anonymous black market hires and checked the background files. The Black Index's internal database recorded the real identities of some anonymous hires, most of which were obtained through investigation. As the middleman, the remuneration of the hires would go through the Black Index before being transferred to the mercenaries. Therefore, it was not difficult to find out the identity of the anonymous hires based on the source and flow of the funds. Han Shao quickly copied the huge amount of files that the Black Index had accumulated over the years in the quantum network. He glanced at the trembling third indexer beside him and joked. You guys aren't as reliable as you say. You've been secretly investigating the identities of the anonymous hires. These files are the hires' weakness and bargaining chip. Don't tell me you're just doing it for fun. The third indexer wiped his sweat and said, We're just checking the reliability of the transactions and evaluating the credibility of the hires. However, we're only doing it for the sake of keeping records. We've never leaked anything. As for the bargaining chips, cough cough, we're doing business in the black market after all. We have to have some backup plans. I know. It's the black market after all. No one is clean. Han Shao chuckled. The third indexer could only laugh along with him, lowering his head and lowering his head. He had no choice. The dynasty's fleet was on standby on the planet, so he could only be soft to the end. This time, Han Shao stroked his chin and said, Oh, I remember something. I brought the dynasty's fleet here, and you came out to welcome me. There are many people on this planet, so the news will spread sooner or later. Then, rumors will definitely appear on the black market, thinking that you guys are being threatened by the 3 universal civilizations, which will cause the hires and hires of the hires. This way, the 3 universal civilizations' plan to lure out the unstable elements will be greatly discounted. Yeah. The third indexer did not know how to answer. However, I think you should be glad. Han Shao smiled and said, You might even send someone to deliberately spread the news on the black market, saying that the Black Index is controlled by someone else. This will remind the other members of the black market and warn them not to use the black market platform for hiring during this time. You will try to stop the damage to your organization's reputation. The third indexer had a bitter taste in his mouth. He did have such thoughts. Although he was forced to compromise, he still wanted to cut his losses. Don't worry, I won't stop you from doing that. Hearing that, the third indexer was confused. Didn't you control us so that you could secretly monitor the movements of the black market and fish out the restless elements? If the black market knows that we're not reliable and doesn't use our guarantee platform, then what's the use of controlling us? Oh, it seems that you are very adapted to the change of identity. You have entered the role of a collaborator so quickly and are starting to think for us. Han Xiao laughed and clapped his hands. The third indexer's face froze, but he did not dare to say anything. Han Xiao raised his brows, turned around, called the Imperial Fleet officer, and said with a smile, later, split the Dynasty fleet up and head to every gray transit station in the ancient Star Desert that has a black market organization. Remember to make a big fuss and let everyone see you. Hearing that, the third indexer roughly understood Black Star's plan. You purposely alerted the enemy and let the black market know that the black index has compromised. Then, you pretended to go to every black market organization to negotiate, creating the illusion that the three universal civilizations control the entire black market in the ancient Star Desert, planting the seeds of suspicion in most people's hearts? This way, even if the other black market organizations did not fall into Black Star's hands, with the precedent of the Black Index, those employers who pursued secrecy and safety would naturally not dare to take the risk, fearing that they would be exposed. Black Star could force all the black market organizations in the ancient Star Desert to compromise, but now, he had chosen another path. The way the third indexer saw it, Black Star was leaving himself a way out. This method was not so forceful, and he would not offend the black market organizations like he did today. He would not benefit the three universal civilizations. Some of the black market organizations might even think that Black Star was being merciful. I understand. The third indexer hesitated. This method is indeed gentler, but there are pros and cons. Han Xiao did not answer. He knew what the other party meant. Forcefully controlling all the black market organizations was the best way to catch a bunch of people who wanted to cause trouble. Although this method was less troublesome, it would alert the enemy and make them continue to lay low. However, the way he saw it, there was no way to catch all the unstable factors. They were like leeks, harvesting a batch and growing another bat. If he did not stop the black market mercenaries, there would always be people who would take the risk for huge benefits, making the border of the ancient Star Desert a mess. The three universal civilizations would have no choice but to spend a lot of effort to hunt them down. This was the drawback of this method. Furthermore, if they caught too many people, they would not be able to hide it. It was better to let the ancient Star Desert know that the three universal civilizations controlled the black market channels and set up an inescapable net. This would eliminate the unstable factor's hopes of getting revenge. This way, the effect of the plan would change from fishing to risk prevention, reducing the number of people who would take the risk. Fishing was indeed effective, but it would also create more unstable factors. As the rulers, the three universal civilizations were more suitable to use righteous method. Fishing was a dirty method that could be used occasionally, but it was not suitable to be used in the long term. Putting away his thoughts, Han Xiao glanced at the third indexer's submissive look and clicked his tongue. Not bad. I thought I would have to kill a lot of people before you would compromise. I didn't expect you to be so smart and not give me a chance. As long as you're satisfied. The third indexer was helpless. However, I still like your rebellious look. Recover. Han Xiao could not help but tease him. Since when was I rebellious? The third indexer thought to himself about Han Xiao's bad taste, but on the surface, he still straightened his back obediently. This time, Philip finished sifting through the files and locked onto a bunch of employers who requested to smuggle the virus. Submit this list and let the 3 Universal Civilizations troops work together to destroy these organizations. Han Xiao glanced through it. The information was very detailed, covering all walks of life. He did not plan to go easy on these people. Apart from making an example out of them, he also wanted to increase his Intelligent Plague mission rating. He searched carefully for a while and found an organization that had hired immortals many times. Depressed Prince was also hired by them. It was a black market arms dealer called the Keppel Financial Group. I'll take care of this organization personally. Remember to post the video of the execution online. Somewhere in the ancient Star Desert, in the Keppel Financial Group's fortress. On the dock, boxes were being loaded onto ship. Keppel V was patrolling around with his subordinate. How much longer? About 2 more hours. Speed up as soon as possible. Keppel V's tone was a little impatient. 7 or 8 days ago, the dynasty's fleet had entered the Black Index, and the news had only spread yesterday. All the anonymous employers who issued the mission to smuggle the virus were shocked. Keppel V also felt uneasy, so he decided to abandon this fortress and speed up the transfer of asset. At this time, he was organizing people to empty the fortress. While he was waiting anxiously, a member of the exploration team suddenly sent him an emergency message. Warning: the Outer Fleet has discovered a small Red Empire fleet approaching. We have sent a communication request, but the other party has not responded. The 3 Universal Civilizations are here. Keppel V's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly walked to the window with a group of officers. Looking into the distant starry sky, he saw a few dynasty spaceships slowly approaching. There don't seem to be many of them. They don't look like they're here to fight. Seeing this, Keppel V heaved a sigh of relief. With so few spaceships, he felt like they were here to negotiate. Thinking of this, Keppel V tidied up his clothes, making himself look more formal, and gave an order. Guard fleet, don't act rashly. Send a communication request in my name. I'll talk to them and see what they're here for. However, as soon as he said that, the dynasty's spaceship suddenly stopped in the distance. Why did they stop? Keppel V was stunned, his face filled with confusion. However, at the very next moment, countless machines suddenly appeared out of thin air in the distance, rapidly assembling into a gigantic humanoid mechanical construct. It wore a large robe and held a long blade in its hand. Its body was so large that it could penetrate the heavens and penetrate the earth, even larger than the entire fortress. That's before Keppel V and the others could recover from their shock. They saw the gigantic machine hurl out its long blade. Like a hot knife cutting through butter, it cut through all of Keppel V's escort fleet without any hindrance and headed straight for the fortress. At this moment, all the members on the dock, including Keppel V, stopped what they were doing and stared blankly at the huge blade that was rapidly approaching. Everyone's mind went blank. Swoosh! The celestial punishment edge that was thrown out easily pierced through Keppel Fortress. The blue psionic storm wrapped around the edge of the blade instantly turned the scattered remains of the fortress into powder, creating a dazzling firework in midair. The blade's momentum was unstoppable, and it pierced straight into the barren planet below, penetrating the strata and coming out from the other side of the planet, directly leaving a gap that connected the front and back of the planet. The large amount of psionic energy left behind by the celestial punishment edge created an irreversible high-energy chain reaction with the interior of the planet. Magma gushed up, and red-hot lava cracks appeared on the surface. The next moment, a blinding white light suddenly lit up, and the entire barren planet expanded from the inside, instantly exploding into pieces. The shock wave of the explosion spread out, and the mechanical deity pulled up the Emperor's robe. Layers of honeycomb-shaped high-density psionic shields blocked out the shockwave. The routes are very complicated, and there are too many data intersection points. We can only filter through them one by one. However, not only is the virus core very secretive, but it also seems to change location at any time. Therefore, the 3 universal civilizations have never been able to find it. Then I have no ideas. I can't help you. No, I don't need your ideas. Han Xiao smiled and said, the next time the 3 universal civilizations count the intersection points of the new phase, I'll need you to help me choose some nodes. Maybe you'll be lucky. You might find it right away. Don't joke around. Harrison was terrified. I'm not joking. Think about it. An antique you casually dug up turned out to be the source of such a dangerous disaster. In a way, your luck is heaven-defying. Harrison scratched his head and realized that it made sense. Indeed, my luck seems to have been pretty good since I was young. No matter what project I help my family invest in, I seem to be able to earn money in the end. If not for the fact that it's easy to earn money, I wouldn't have come out to seek excitement in archaeology. Han Xiao did not know what he was thinking. Seeing that he was in a daze, he casually gave him a few words of encouragement. He then looked away and started to plan in his mind. He believed in the effect of the advanced luck glow. Even if he could not find it the first time, the chances of Harrison finding it a few more times would be higher than others. Furthermore, Han Xiao also planned to ask the 3 universal civilizations to contact the outside world and ask Floating Dragon's old man Aesop for help. No matter how well the virus core was hidden, everyone was equal in the face of luck and prophecy. If science did not work, metaphysics would make up for it. On March 9, year 731 of the galaxy calendar, Black Star was the emissary of the Red Empire and visited the Black Index organization that controlled the black market network. The two sides had a friendly discussion about supporting the 3 universal civilizations in controlling the disaster. After exchanging their opinions, they finally reached a consensus. The third indexer in charge of the ancient Star Desert area of the Black Index said that regardless of whether they were in the black or white side, every strong civilian organization should have a sense of historical responsibility. Stopping the intelligent plague disaster was the duty of every galactic resident, and the Black Index was willing to fully support the 3 universal civilizations. On the 17th of March, Black Star announced that the Keppel Financial Group had secretly hidden the virus and destroyed it in one strike. His might shook the entire universe. With this as a signal, the 3 universal civilizations cooperated and destroyed a large number of private organizations suspected of hiding the virus within a month. In April of the same year, the Red Empire's fleet visited all the black market organizations in the ancient Star Desert and suspected that they had taken control of all the black market channels in the ancient Star Desert. Black Star adhered to the principle of no negotiation and no compromise. He led his fleet to attack frequently. Everyone in the ancient Star Desert was in danger, and the number of illegal immigrants decreased greatly. On June 25, the research team led by Manison created the first version of the special antivirus and scanning tool, which was put into use on a large scale. In July of the same year, the intelligent plague disaster was initially under control, and the 3 universal civilizations began to investigate the source of the virus on a large scale. Chapter 11-13. In a temporary military base of the Red Empire in the ancient Star Desert. Han Zhao's fleet was stationed here to replenish their supplies and repair their armor. Over the past few months, based on the feedback from the Black Market Network, he had wiped out the restless gray organizations in the ancient Star Desert, successfully scaring the remaining people into not daring to take the risk. They chose to listen obediently and did not dare to touch the virtual mutiny virus anymore. The environment in the star field had improved significantly. The wipeout was very effective. While Han Xiao was on his way, he was also trying to find the virus core. He had Harrison activate the luck glow multiple times to select the virus data intersection point. However, this time, the luck glow was not able to find the virus core. Even Old Man Aesop could not predict the location of this thing. Han Xiao guessed that the virus core was probably another lover of the goddess of luck. Her tastes were really mixed. He was responsible for eliminating the restless elements, while Manison was focused on research. Both sides had achieved results. Currently, the intelligent plague was under control for the time being. I thought you guys would be able to make a 3-piece antivirus set very quickly. I didn't expect it to take you a few months. This doesn't match your standards, Manison. In the upper management lounge of the military base, Han Xiao was chatting with Manison's remote projection. While talking, he was munching on some kind of fruit seed that looked like a melon seed. Manison shook his head. It's not easy to decode the virus code. Plus, to prevent the virus from breaking out, we have to avoid the trigger mechanism. Therefore, we have to be careful, which took a lot of time. A beyond grade of virtual mechanic could easily wipe out the virtual mutiny virus with his own ability, but it was much more difficult to turn his ability into a universal tool. This was like an ordinary person who could naturally run and jump, but if he was asked to build a robot that could also run and jump, he would definitely be at a loss. What do the 3 universal civilizations plan to do now? It's still the problem of the trigger mechanism. In order to prevent the virus from breaking out, we can't let the infection rate of the virus drop drastically. Therefore, even if we have a firewall, we can't use it on a large scale for the time being. We have to remove all the infected nodes before installing it. It's also because of this that the virtual mutiny virus has infected more than half of the quantum network nodes in the ancient star desert over the past few months, despite the 3 universal civilizations trying their best to control it. If I remember correctly, large-scale wiping out the virus will trigger a mine, right? Han Xiao asked. That's right. Manison nodded. Therefore, the scanning tool that the 3 universal civilizations requested us to create cannot be discovered by the virus. They plan to first use the scanning tool to secretly lock onto all the currently infected nodes, then accurately release the antivirus tool to eliminate all the infected nodes at the same time. After that, they will immediately go online and install a firewall to prevent repeated infections. This way, even if the virus breaks out, the losses will be minimized. Although this method is a little troublesome, it's safe. Han Xiao had no objections to the 3 universal civilizations approach. It sounded quite reliable. However, he had some doubts in his heart. Logically speaking, the 3 universal civilizations in his previous life also handled the situation in the same way, with a firewall as a barrier. How did it end up becoming a universal disaster? Could it be that because I did a good job of cleaning up, I changed some unknown details? For example, someone tried to transport the virus out, but I stopped it now? Han Xiao secretly suppressed this doubt in his heart. Manison did not know what Han Xiao was thinking, so he continued to explain the 3 universal civilizations plan. Therefore, we have 2 plans now. The first is to eliminate the virus in one fell swoop, and the second is to find the virus core. It's the control valve for most of the triggering mechanisms. As long as it's eliminated, the risk can be further reduced, and we won't have to worry about the virus breaking out. You guys still have no clue about the virus core. It's hidden too well. Manison shook his head and did not reveal too much information. Han Xiao snorted. He felt that old Manison was not telling the truth, but there was no point in exposing him. In this regard, the 2 of them were competitors, and the other party would not be kind enough to share clues. All the beyond grade A mechanics who came to help wanted to obtain the virus core and analyze the complete virtual mutiny virus technology. Now that the disaster was under control and the danger was over, the competition for the virus core gradually surfaced. Even the 3 universal civilizations had the intention to compete. Han Xiao knew that he would not be able to get anything out of him, so he changed the topic and said, "Your research is done. Do you plan to stay in the research and development department?" "No, I'm planning to go out and do some activities. On one hand, I'm looking for clues about the virus core. On the other hand, I plan to visit the machinery faith." Machinery faith. Han Xiao raised his brows. He did not forget that the two of them had a conflict of interest in this regard. Manison had always occupied the position of the Lord God and wanted to monopolize the majority of the faith to maintain the bonuses of the key of Adeptus Mechanicus. For this reason, Manison had taken the initiative to make a move more than 10 years ago, causing Han Xiao to suffer a small loss. Back then, he had chosen to use his sole talent and put aside the dispute, avoiding the spotlight and developing in a low-profile manner. Only then did they continue to interact. "What, you have an idea?" Manison said with a half-smile. "Humph, can't I?" Han Xiao narrowed his eyes. "Compared to 10 years ago, you've improved. However, it's still too early for you to challenge me again." Manison said calmly, "Don't be greedy for what's mine. Our relationship is quite good now, and it's good for you to maintain the current state. Don't blame me for not reminding you. I don't want to see you have any form of contact with the machinery faith." Then, the green remote projection disappeared, and Manison ended the call. Han Zhao's face darkened, and he was a little annoyed. This guy really has a dog's face, turning on me just like that. Also, since when did the machinery faith become your property? Shameless. Speaking of which, it's been more than 10 years since the last time I fought with him. Han Xiao narrowed his eyes, deep in thought. He opened the interface and looked at the huge amount of EXP he had accumulated. The Black Star Cup had been going on for a long time, and it had been providing him with extra EXP for the past few months. Now, he had accumulated quite a lot. He did some calculations and estimated that it was enough for him to level up from 320 to 335 to 337. With such a huge amount of EXP, as long as he took out a part of it, he would be able to max out all his potential points and level up all his class knowledges. After developing for so long, I feel like I can fight with Manison again. Han Xiao had avoided the spotlight for more than 10 years in order to develop and accumulate strength. Now that he had achieved great results, his mind once again occupied the high ground. The competition with the machinery faith was one thing, but to the current Han Xiao, another reason was the main reason. "I'm not convinced. I want to fight with old Manison. Last time, I was not as strong as him, but I've endured it. Revenge is a dish best served cold. In the past, it was others who came knocking on my door and bullied my Philip. Now that we have some capital, it's my turn to take the initiative to challenge old Manison and see the difference in strength. Due to the existence of the Beyond Grade A Association, the strength of both sides would also affect the right to speak. Although Manison's term was still long, it was fine for him to make some preparations for the next election. At the same time, because of the Development Union, he did not need to worry about Manison's retaliation. As the president, old Manison had to set an example and not do anything in private, or it would go against the original intention of the Development Union. Although Manison had helped him in the rescue of Hela, that was another matter altogether. Han Xiao would not accept the carrot for every blow. At most, he would find another chance to repay Manison's help. Various thoughts flashed through his mind. Han Xiao opened the skill list, selected a batch of blueprint skills, and leveled them up to the maximum level. Notifications kept popping up on the interface. One of your skills has been maxed out. You have received 1 potential point. One of your skills has been maxed out. You have received 1 potential point. Currently, Han Xiao was only 3 ultimate knowledges away from maxing out. Ultimate Mechanical Engineering was LV3, Mechanical Life Tinder was LV4, and Endless Material Science was LV, 144 potential points were required. Even if he had some potential points in reserve, he would still need to max out more than 100 skills. The more skills he had, the higher the cost of leveling them up. Even low-level blueprints required a lot of experience, but it was not as exaggerated as the cost of leveling up his character. This meant that although the players could take advantage of the loopholes, they could not go overboard. They still had to put in a lot of effort to obtain more potential points. His experience decreased rapidly, and more than half of it was used up very quickly. The remaining was only enough to level up to LV 326. Han Xiao only managed to gather 144 potential points. Although leveling up would also give him potential points, he did not want to wait any longer. He had a lot of leaks and an endless supply of experience. He did not need to be calculative. Furthermore, Han Xiao was also very curious as to whether potential points would still be useful when all his knowledges were maxed out. Looking at the huge sum of 144 potential points, Han Xiao took a deep breath and invested them all into the last 3 ultimate knowledges. Ultimate Mechanical Engineering has been leveled up to LV 5 Max. Mechanical Life Tinder has been leveled up to LV 5 Max. Endless Material Science has been leveled up to LV 5 Max. All 60 of your class knowledges have been maxed out. You have received the first Sanctum Ability Fragment X1. You have received the talent Great Machinery Sage. The potential points you currently possess and will obtain in the future will be converted into awakening points in a 1:1 ratio. Usage 1. 1 awakening point can be converted into 100 free attribute points, irreversible. Usage 2. 1 awakening point can be used to level up a maxed out skill by 1 level, irreversible. Usage 3. Increase the progress of the awakening of unique talent. Every 1 awakening point depends on the level of the unique talent, irreversible. Also, 100 awakening points can be used to activate the embryonic form of a unique talent, custom talent preference. Usage 4. Increase the quality of blueprints. Every 1 awakening point depends on the level of blueprints and the quality of blueprints, irreversible. Usage 5. Increase the progress of blueprints. Every 1 awakening point depends on the level of blueprints and the quality of blueprints, irreversible. Your ultimate mechanical engineering has been maxed out. Your ability, Inspiration Creation, has been activated. Whoa! Han Xiao was pleasantly surprised, as expected of a new talent brought by maxing out all his class knowledges. Not only did Machinery Great Sage provide all-round bonuses, but the increase was also very impressive. The increase to his combat strength was probably on the same level as Perfect Mechanical Sense. It could increase his overall combat strength by about 10%, a step further. Speaking of which, I wonder if all the maxed out talents for all 5 classes are Great Sage? Magic Great Sage? Sounds normal. Psychic Great Sage? This is a little strange. Esper Great Sage? Martial Arts Great Sage? Forget it, it would be more appropriate to call it Muscle Great Sage. The appearance of talents was still within Han Zhao's expectations, but the change in potential points gave him a pleasant surprise. In his previous life, no player had ever maxed out all the class knowledges, and this was the first time he had ever done so. With all the class knowledges maxed out, his potential points became awakening points. He carefully browsed through the introduction and became more and more excited. Compared to the simple use of potential points, awakening points were more useful. Converting free attribute points and increasing the upper limit of abilities were very practical, and there was no need to analyze them. He was more interested in the other 3 functions. Increasing the quality of blueprints, this thing seemed to be able to produce gold-grade blueprint. For example, if he took a low-grade pistol blueprint and threw in awakening points, the blueprint's technical level would automatically increase. If he threw in enough awakening points, he might be able to turn this blueprint into a gold-grade blueprint. Furthermore, the type of blueprint wouldn't change much. From an ordinary pistol with elementary gunpowder technology, it would eventually transform into a high-energy portable planet-destroying weapon. It would be passed down in the same vein. On the other hand, awakening points could also increase the research progress of blueprints, which was perfect for inspiration creation. Inspiration creation had been gathering dust in the interface, and the prerequisite to activate it was max-level, ultimate mechanical engineering. The effect of this skill was to consume EXP to combine an unlimited number of blueprints and randomly synthesize one or more improved or fused blueprints. At the same time, it could make advanced settings and choose the orientation of the synthesized blueprints, such as attack, defense, or control. This skill was more stable than free manufacture, and it was the only way for players to spontaneously create gold-grade blueprints. However, the probability of getting a finished product in one go was extremely low. Most of the time, they would only get the prototype of a gold-grade blueprint or inspiration fragments, which could be used to increase the progress. The last use of awakening points, which Han Technician valued the most, was to use them to synthesize unique talents. Han Zhao's eyes flashed, and he muttered to himself, Old Manison, Sorokin, and the others' unique talents might have come from this. Chapter 11-14. 100 Awakening Points for a Unique Talent. This cost was not low, but at least it pointed out a path. Han Zhao doubted that with his luck, he would not be able to find anything even if he tried for 100 years. He estimated that the method of custom synthesis would be the same as when he created his own species talent when he advanced to beyond grade A. He would provide his preference and then proceed with random selection. The unique talent obtained after synthesis would only be in its embryonic form, and he would have to spend more awakening points to activate it. With all his class knowledges maxed out, potential points would become awakening points. It should be the same for Manison and the other mechanic. The difference was that, unlike him, Manison and the others could not freely allocate their awakening points. In that case, the other mechanics would not be able to decide what to do with their awakening points. It would most likely be a random effect. He guessed that it would be similar to a flash of inspiration during training or research. Although the cost is a little high, at least it's a stable way to obtain unique talents. Han Xiaoxin was overjoyed. He had been eyeing this thing for so many years, and he finally saw hope. However, the cost-performance ratio was still debatable. 100 awakening points was equivalent to 10,000 free attribute points. His current highest intelligence attribute was less than 30,000. If he exchanged them all for free attribute points, the increase would be huge. Only by obtaining a molding talent would it not be a loss. However, since it was called a unique talent, its effect should not be too bad. You get what you pay for. Han Technician still remembered Sorokin's unique talent, Swindler Sorokin. Just his intelligence and mystery attributes alone increased by 20%, as well as an additional 75% increase in Esper ability strength and skill level by 4. Old Mai's Virtual Technology Innovation Manison gave him a 1.75x Virtual Technology Enhancement effect. Furthermore, it was the foundation of the indestructible Mecha Empire technology. Both of them were molding talent. True knowledge comes from practice. Although the cost is a little high, I still have to get one to see the effect. Han Zhao had just leveled up more than 100 blueprints, and he had spent all his potential points. He did not have enough experience to gather another 100 awakening points. Sigh, awakening points. Such an apt name. It's another huge EXP drain. I'll think about it after I promote. Han Zhao shook his head. The main reason he had maxed out all his classes was to obtain one more God's trait transformation point when he promoted in the future. Now that he had achieved it, the level 340 promotion became his top priority once more. Other than these changes, the interface also notified him that he had obtained a new, the first sanctum, skill fragment. Han Technician had already figured out the pattern. When he crossed the threshold of a certain mechanic class, he would receive a fragment of the first sanctum. The first came from activating God's trait transformation, the second came from creating his first universal treasure, the third came from the fifth stage of God's trait transformation, and the fourth came from now. I'd like to see how many fragments are needed to make it whole. If you're so capable, why don't you give me 100 fragments? Han Shao cursed in his heart. Overall, he was very satisfied with the effect of maxing out all his class knowledges. It had pointed out a new path for him to grow. The biggest difference between him and the other beyond grade as was in this aspect. His growth path was clearly visible. At the same time, with Machinery Great Sage, the chances of challenging Manison would be higher. Last time, I suffered a loss in the virtual world. This time, I'm going to have a real fight with him. Han Shao was eager to give it a try, his fighting spirit soaring. This kind of mentality could be explained simply. The wind has stopped, the rain has stopped, and I feel like I can do it again. Thud, thud, thud. Just as Han Shao was sorting out the changes in his body, someone knocked on the door, and Harrison walked in. Over the past few months, Han Shao had adhered to the principle of not wasting labor and had not let Harrison stay idle. Even if this guy was currently a criminal, Han Shao did not mind letting him be his temporary secretary. Other than giving Harrison something to do, he also arranged for him to stay by his side so that it would be convenient for him to freeload the luck glow all the time. However, looking at the results, not only did he not freeload the luck glow, he even neutralized it quite a bit. It was a classic lose-lose situation. Of course, Han Technician would not admit it. He firmly believed that this was because the quality of Harrison's luck glow was not good enough. Fu Ding's luck glow was still the strongest. It was fine no matter how much he dragged him down. Seeing him enter, Han Shao closed the interface and asked casually, "What's up? Do you have anything to report?" "Your Excellency Black Star, the Dynasty Fleet wants me to tell you that they will temporarily leave your team and return to normal to carry out other missions." "What happened?" Han Shao was curious. "The captain told me that this is a mission sent by the Dynasty's upper echelons. They said that there's a problem with a star system civilization, and it's not suitable for you to appear." "What exactly is going on?" "I took a report from them. Take a look." Harrison took out a document and showed it to Han Shao on the virtual screen. Han Shao skimmed through it and immediately understood. Over the past few months, the various civilizations in the ancient star desert had seen the big picture and had been cooperating with the three universal civilizations on the surface. They did not cause any trouble like the black market. However, after the three universal civilizations announced that the three-piece antivirus set was completed, some civilizations seemed to feel that the disaster was under control and would not cause any serious consequences, so they caused a wave of trouble. Three of the star system civilizations involved were the Tiger race, the White Hair race, and the Firians. They were not smuggling the virus but suspected of using the virus to attack their opponent. The Tiger race and the Firians were both in the same star system and bordered each other. They were sworn enemies and often had conflict. The White Hair race was in another neighboring star system and only bordered the Tiger race. The relationship between the two was relatively cold. The situation was roughly like this. Not long ago, a mechanical rebellion broke out on an important administrative planet of the Tiger race. This was a group of mechanical bodies infected with the virtual mutiny virus. Because they had been disconnected from the internet for too long, the trigger mechanism took effect, and these mechanical bodies were reprogrammed by the virus to kill life forms. The virus outbreak was limited to this group of mechanical bodies, and there were not many of them. The quantum network connection device of each of them had been removed long ago, so they could not go online and could not affect the other nodes of the planet. Therefore, the planet's guards easily annihilated this group of mechanical bodies, but there were still casualties. After investigation, a rather realistic reason for the disaster spread on the internet, which was that this group of mechanical bodies was actually the material for the Tiger race to study the virtual mutiny virus. They accidentally went out of control, which led to this disaster. After the news spread, the Tiger race citizens were in an uproar. The public opinion went out of control, and they crazily attacked the regime. The Tiger race anxiously said that this was a rumor and that they did not study the virus at all. They claimed that these mechanical bodies were hidden on the planet by an unknown organization and calculated the day when the virus would break out. They purposely slandered their regime and damaged their credibility. The angry citizens felt that this was an excuse, so the Tiger race had no choice but to publicly ask the three universal civilizations for arbitration. In the private report that Han Xiao saw, the Tiger race explained to the three universal civilizations that this might be a scheme of the Furians or the White Hair race. Not only did they want to slander them, but they also wanted to frame a third party, causing a conflict between the two parties while they reaped the benefits. The White Hair race and the Furians both had a motive, but the Tiger race's words could not be trusted easily. Therefore, the three universal civilizations sent people to investigate. The current situation was complicated. The star system civilizations were protected by the peace treaty, so the dynasty did not let Han Xiao interfere with the affairs of the civilizations. In this area, the three universal civilizations did not allow any other organizations to play dirty. The black market has been beaten up by me, but the civilizations are starting to jump, Han Xiao frowned. Although this matter was not under his control, it did not stop him from smelling danger. He understood that the situation of the ancient star desert being sealed made the various civilizations vigilant, especially the super-star cluster civilizations. The three big hooligans had long lost their credibility, so they would definitely prepare for the worst, keeping a trump card and holding the chip. However, this did not benefit the overall situation at all. It was a classic game of chess. I still have to deal with the virus as soon as possible. I can't delay any longer. I'll go use Explorer again. Han Xiao got up and left the room, heading to the warehouse. Walking into the room, he immediately saw the triangular device that had once stored the virtual mutiny virus. It was lying there quietly. The dynasty's research on it was to no avail. Seeing that Black Star had asked for it, they allowed Han Xiao to keep it by his side. During this period, as long as the cooldown of Bold Explorer was over, Han Xiao would use the triangular device. Unfortunately, after watching a bunch of scattered fragments, there were not many valuable clues. At most, he figured out part of the origin of the virus. The mechanical civilization that he saw for the first time was the creator of the virtual mutiny virus. This was indeed a weapon. The original intention of creating it was to deal with the unknown civilization that had used a planetary annihilation weapon to destroy a planet of the mechanical civilization. The virus was programmed to kill living beings, and the mechanical civilization was naturally not within this range. It could be considered a high-level war weapon that did not harm its allies. As for this mechanical civilization, it was actually an artificial intelligence civilization. Just like the AI civilization, all its citizens were artificial intelligence life forms, just more advanced. The mechanical bodies that filled the streets were all shells that carried artificial intelligence life forms, which was equivalent to their vehicles in the real world. Their appearances were all self-made, so there were basically no duplicates. Han Xiao found some unique words and symbols of this artificial intelligence civilization in the backtracking of Bold Explorer, time and time again. However, after comparing them, he found that there were no relevant records in the databases of the three universal civilizations. Either this artificial intelligence civilization was too old, and there was a gap in its history that even the three universal civilizations did not know about, or it was an advanced civilization in the unexplored universe. Regardless of which it was, it basically confirmed that the source of the virtual mutiny virus was the materialization phenomenon brought about by the information form disturbance, which was a mirage that interfered with reality. I hope I can see some useful fragments this time. Han Xiao glanced at Harrison beside him, took a deep breath, prayed for the blessing of the halo, and slowly pressed his hand on the cold surface of the triangular device. Buzz. The next moment, his vision suddenly changed, and he came to a bright laboratory. He looked up, and his pupils suddenly constricted as a look of surprise flashed across his face. He saw a triangular device placed in the middle of the room. It was not closed yet, revealing the safe inside. A group of mechanical bodies that looked like researchers stood beside it, operating the mechanical arms solemnly, putting a cluster of almost transparent light blue electric arcs into the device. Could this be the scene where the virtual mutiny virus was just created? I finally got something this time. Han Xiao suppressed his joy and carefully observed this cluster of light blue electric arcs. He saw traces of electric arcs swimming in the air like a powerful electromagnetic field. This is the virus core? Shouldn't it be virtual data? Why is it a cluster of electromagnetic energy? Han Xiaoxin was confused. At this time, an indifferent electronic voice sounded, and a mechanical researcher on the side pointed at the camera used to record the experiment process and spoke. Summary of the experimental object. Domino virus can infect quantum networks and rewrite the underlying logic of artificial intelligence. Currently programmed to kill all organic life forms. Raw materials. 1,000 mutated artificial intelligence lives with their independent thoughts erased, leaving only the data shell and computing ability. After 165 failed modifications, the domino virus was successfully created. The initial form of this virus has extremely high stealth, permeability, and infectivity. Virus core, a set program without independent thoughts. As the control center, it controls the domino virus according to the input logic, monitors the infection situation, and chooses the right time to activate the virus. At the same time, it has the ability to self-evolve. When the opponent develops a targeted firewall, the virus core will automatically analyze the data and use its powerful computing ability to find loopholes. It will continuously update and strengthen the virus information package to carry out a new round of infection. Note: starting from the second generation of the virus, all information packages are considered to be activated. Once infected, they will no longer be hidden and will immediately rewrite the target's logic. In addition, the virus core uses virtual soul, bioelectric simulation, magnetic field reconstruction, and so on. It has two forms of existence. It can turn into a virtual soul and swim freely in the quantum network. It can also leave the quantum network at any terminal and enter the material world, turning into an electromagnetic life form. Because the foundation of the virus core's existence is virtual soul, when it is in the electromagnetic field state, it can enter the quantum network at any time without touching the node. Therefore, the virus core has extremely high escape and stealth abilities, as well as high mobility. If used properly, a single domino virus can destroy most of the armed forces of a galactic civilization and cause the civilization level of the target to regress many generations. Because it is too powerful, it needs to be used carefully. The domino virus is temporarily sealed and cannot be used without permission. Han Zhao's eyes slowly widened. He felt like his young heart had received a huge blow. If not for bold explorer, seeing all this, no one in the universe would have known the true face of the virtual mutiny virus. Now, I'm the only one who knows this information. The others are still in the dark. At this time, a bad thought appeared in his mind. This is bad. The plan of the three universal civilizations is not going to work. This thing is more troublesome than I thought. Chapter 11:15. There seems to be an activity. There is a post in the book review and comment section. Those who are interested can take a look. Super Godly Mechanic First Book Review Activity Duration. From now until December 20th, 2019. Activity Location. Starting Point Book Review page of Super Godly Mechanic. Activity Requirement. Fans of Super Godly Mechanic are greater than or equal to apprentices. Otherwise, it will not be valid. The Super Godly Mechanic First Book Review Page Book Review Competition is as follows. Participants, please use your wisdom to praise your favorite character. It can be the main character or a supporting character. There is no limit to the content, the number of words, and the style. Participants, please use your own smart and brave imagination to participate enthusiastically. The title of the entry for this activity must be Entry for the First Super Godly Mechanic Book Review Competition. Otherwise, it will not be valid. The rewards for this activity are as follows. First place. Reward 50,000 Chidien coins. You are the best boss. Second place. Reward 30,000 Chidien coins. One person under you. Third place. Reward 20,000 Chidien coins. Very impressive. Fourth place. Reward 15,000 Chidien coins. Not bad. Fifth place. Reward 10,000 Chidien coins. Not bad. Sixth place to 10th place. Reward 5,000 Chidien coins 11th place to 20th place. Reward 2,000 Chidien coins 20th place to 30th place. Consolation prize reward. 1,000 Chidien coins. Consolation prize is not bad either. Asterisk? Asterisk? In addition, there will be a Best Idiot Book Review Award, and the winner will be rewarded 5,000 Chidien coins. Idiots can also win awards. You can register for this activity multiple times, but each account can only win once per month. The final explanation rights will belong to the Super Godly Mechanic officials. P.S. Speaking of which, if the number of participants is less than the number of awards, then wouldn't it be a waste equals? Asterisk. Chapter 11:16. At this time, the image of a bold explorer came to an abrupt end, and his vision returned to the warehouse. His palm left the cold shell of the triangular device. Han Shao stood where he was and silently looked at the device in front of him. He remained silent and did not move at all. Harrison did not know what was going on, but he could sense that the atmosphere was getting heavier. He asked cautiously, "Your Excellency Black Star, what's wrong?" "Nothing." Han Shao came back to his senses, glanced at him, and walked out of the warehouse. Harrison hurriedly followed. "Go do your thing. Don't follow me." "Oh, okay." Harrison hurriedly left as if he had been pardoned. Although Black Star was not doing anything, Harrison could not help but feel immense pressure just by being by his side. After sending Harrison away, Han Shao returned to his room and recalled the secret he had seen earlier. His mind spun rapidly. So, the real name of the virtual mutiny virus is the domino virus. What a terrifying weapon of war. Any organization that has this technology will be able to win in information warfare. He finally understood why the intelligent plague still swept across the entire universe in his previous life. It turned out that it was not only because someone was causing trouble, but also because the three universal civilizations did not manage to stop the invasion of the domino virus. It was not that their technology was not good enough, but that they were at a disadvantage in terms of intelligence. The three universal civilizations were caught off guard. After all, who would have thought that the virtual mutiny virus would have such a mechanism? If he had not seen the true face of the virus from O Bold Explorer, he would have probably been like the three universal civilizations, still treating the virus core as a pure data program. According to normal logic, the virus core was just a switch program to monitor the progress of the overall infection. Therefore, the three universal civilizations felt that they were not afraid after creating the antivirus. Of course, they did not know that the virus core had the ability to self-update and evolve. What they had suppressed so far was only the first generation of the virus. As long as the core was not dealt with, there would be the second generation, the third generation, and so on. Furthermore, the virus would not be lurking next time and would directly cause a mechanical rebellion. Not only was the infection rate more terrifying than expected, the virus core itself had an extremely shocking ability to escape. It was not limited to data mode, and it could even enter the material world and construct an electromagnetic field as a shell to carry itself. It could freely switch between virtual and reality, and it was not afraid of being blocked on the internet. Because the foundation of its existence was a virtual soul, the virus core could enter the quantum network without any physical contact. This was similar to the ability of a beyond grade, a virtual mechanic, to enter the quantum network at any time. Only when it materialized would it need a node as an exit, which meant that it could use the quantum network to teleport between various nodes. No wonder I couldn't find any trace of the virus core after so many months. It's probably not because Harrison's Halo isn't good enough, but because it's impossible to track it down on the internet, Han Xiao thought. This ability was similar to his void warp. For the virus core, the quantum network was like another secondary dimension that it could enter and exit at will. This artificial intelligence civilization should not have reached the universal level. The three universal civilizations had the ability to analyze all the principles behind the domino virus, but they needed a certain amount of time to do so. Therefore, when they first encountered such a virus weapon, there would be a stage where they could not understand it. The technology tree of each civilization was different, and there would always be some civilizations that developed black technology, such as the Kundi race's spacetime splicer. The three universal civilizations' achievements in virtual viruses could not compare to this artificial intelligence civilization. After all, there were specializations, and even their citizens were artificial intelligences, so this was clearly their strongest point. However, this is amazing. In my previous life, since the three universal civilizations successfully resolved the intelligent plague, the virus core must have been resolved. Logically speaking, the three universal civilizations should have mastered this technology, but why didn't they use it when they were fighting the World Tree? Han Xiaoxin's head twitched, and he became suspicious. Could it be that the virus core did not fall into the hands of the three universal civilizations in my previous life, but was secretly stolen by someone else? The next moment, the image of an old man appeared in Han Technician's mind, Mecha Empire Manison. This B***starred is the most suspicious. Han Xiao could not be blamed for thinking this way. Manison had left too deep of an impression on him. This sounded like something Manison would do. Furthermore, the raw material of the domino virus was a mutated artificial intelligence, and Manison happened to be in control of an artificial intelligence civilization. It was terrifying to think about. Han Xiao hurriedly shook his head and got rid of these distracting thoughts. The three universal civilizations had to learn a lot to understand the mechanism of the domino virus. Now that I've seen the truth in advance, I can save the process of figuring it out and take precautions. Thinking of this, Han Xiao heaved a sigh of relief. In his previous life, the three universal civilizations could only figure it out while suffering losses. Now that he had this B***starred who was reading the strategy, there was no need for them to repeat the same mistake. For all he knew, he might be able to resolve the source of the virus when it was still in its first generation, not giving the virus a chance to break out and minimizing the losses. From the looks of it, the butterfly effect he brought was still more positive. The main problem now is to convince the three universal civilizations to change their plan of killing the virus on a large scale. Without dealing with the virus core, it's useless no matter how much they kill the virus. Since the virus core's ability is so troublesome, Dealing with it will require the cooperation of the three universal civilizations. The ability to self-evolve was the most terrifying. As long as this was dealt with, the rest would be easy. He was not afraid of the virus core escaping the ancient star desert, but the quantum network of this star field was blocked, which was equivalent to a large local area network. It would not be able to receive the feedback of the ancient star desert virus from the outside. Even if the virus core did escape, it would still have to log into this sealed network if it wanted to monitor the overall infection situation in the ancient star desert. This meant that even if the virus core could teleport with the help of the quantum network, its range would be limited to the ancient star desert. As for whether or not it would spread the virus outside, Han Xiao was not worried. Although the three universal civilizations lacked intelligence, they were not incompetent. In order to prevent leakage, they were also scanning the outside world. If the outside world was infected with the first-generation virus on a large scale, the three universal civilizations would discover it very quickly. After secretly analyzing for a while, Han Xiao had some ideas. He summoned Philip and ordered, "Contact the three universal civilizations of the ancient star desert. Help me arrange a meeting with the people in charge of the disaster command center of the three universal civilizations, as well as the other beyond grade A mechanic. I want to have a meeting with them and tell them that I made a huge discovery regarding the virus core." Half an hour later, Intelligent Plague Disaster Command Room, Upper Echelon Meeting Room. After receiving Black Star's invitation, everyone put down the work they were doing. Shidrin, the other two supervisors, and all the beyond grade A mechanics were present in remote projections to listen to Black Star's discovery. As soon as Han Zhao's remote projection appeared, Shidrin immediately asked, "Did you find the virus core? Black Star, did you find the virus core?" "No, I haven't caught it yet, but I made a major discovery." Hearing that Han Xiao did not succeed, the people present were both disappointed and relieved. They then became curious about the major discovery Han Xiao mentioned. "What did you find?" "It's like this," Han Xiao did not beat around the bush and directly explained the mechanism of the virus core, mainly emphasizing the transformation and self-renewal functions. The threat of the domino virus was too high, and solving the disaster together was the most important task. Therefore, he did not plan to hide anything at this time. After hearing Han Zhao's explanation, everyone present fell silent. They looked at each other, not knowing what expression to make. Seeing this, Han Xiao continued with a serious expression. "Therefore, your large-scale antivirus plan is useless. Only by finding the virus core can the threat of the intelligent plague be truly eliminated. I suggest you take action immediately." This time, Shidrin interrupted Han Xiao with a strange expression. "Black Star, we would like to ask, where did you get all this information from?" Everyone present had the same thought. They stared at Han Xiao in shock and doubt. They could not help but be suspicious. This information was too detailed, so detailed that it felt like it was made up. "You're not lying to us, are you? You're so cunning. It's not impossible. This is a serious matter. We have to confirm the authenticity of the information. If you don't show us evidence, how can we believe you?" "I knew you would say that." Han Xiao was not surprised at all and opened his mouth. "In fact, I found traces of the virus core in the quantum network not long ago. I was about to track and capture it, but the target disappeared from the quantum network without any warning. The clues were cut off because of that. I'm a pinnacle beyond grade of virtual mechanic, and it actually disappeared right under my nose without me being able to see the mechanism behind it. There are experts here as well, so I don't have to explain how difficult it was. I had my suspicions back then and felt that it was not just a data program." "And then? How did you find out about this?" Shidrin asked curiously. "Your files should have recorded that I have a passive foresight ability. I sensed that the virus core was not simple, and a few days later, I saw the future outbreak of the intelligent plague, and the scene of countless lives being wiped out. At the same time, I also saw the true face of this virus core. Han Xiao pretended to be helpless. So, I really can't show you any evidence. This is difficult for us. The people in charge of the 3 universal civilizations looked troubled. It was not that they did not believe in Black Star, but foresight was sometimes not accurate. This matter concerned the safety of the entire universe. Without concrete evidence, betting on an illusory foresight was too risky. Han Xiao did not have much of a choice. He did not have any concrete evidence, so he could only use his foresight ability as an excuse. After all, bold explorer was not easy to explain. It was not as credible as foresight. However, although foresight was not convincing, with his current position, even if the people of the 3 universal civilizations did not believe him immediately, they would definitely find a way to verify his words. He did not need to explain too much. If it was proven to be fabricated, the 3 universal civilizations would naturally lower Han Xiao's credibility. However, before that, they would not immediately treat Han Xiao's words as fake. After experiencing so many things, Han Xiao's fame, prestige, and authority in the universe were enough for the 3 universal civilizations to take his suggestion seriously. At this time, Manison slowly said, "I think I have some ideas. I feel that Black Star's prediction makes sense. In fact, I also discovered traces of the virus core some time ago, and it also disappeared in front of my eyes. I also suspect that it's not just pure data." As soon as this was said, Han Xiao's eyelids twitched. The virus core he encountered was fabricated, but Manison might not be real. I knew it. Old Manison did make some progress, but he kept it a secret. If not for me tricking him today, this old thing would never have revealed this information. TSK, you said I'm not smart enough, but you're even worse. You're still hiding such crucial information. Everyone looked at each other and silently digested this shocking information. In the end, it was Shidrin who coughed and replied, "No matter what, we'll investigate the content of His Excellency Black Star's foresight. This is very important information." As he spoke, he glanced at Manison from the corner of his eyes with disdain. "You're the strongest mechanic in the universe. Why can't you dig up as much information as him? Learn from him." Manison looked straight ahead and pretended not to see Shidrin's gaze. At this time, Kant worriedly said, "If the virtual mutiny virus is really as Black Star said, then we're in big trouble. The firewall we've built in the past few months will be drilled into a sieve by the next generation of viruses. By then, a disaster will sweep across the universe. What kind of civilization developed such terrifying virus technology? Aren't they afraid of getting burned?" Francisco expressed his doubt. "Regardless of whether Black Star is telling the truth or not, we have to come up with a plan," Quantum Demon Judith, the dynasty's ally, said. Seeing this, Han Xiao spoke again and said with a deep voice, "That's right. Regardless of whether the prediction is accurate or not, there won't be any problems if we give it a try." "That makes sense." The 3 universal civilizations' representatives looked at each other and nodded at the same time. "Then, do you have a plan?" "It's not a plan, just a rough idea." Han Xiao paused and looked around. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, he slowly said, "The mobility of the virus is too high. The virus core is too mobile and difficult to capture, but there are still limitations. It can enter the quantum network at any time, but when it leaves, it has to choose a terminal node as the exit. This might be a breakthrough. In order to receive feedback from the information packets, the virus core will return to the quantum network from time to time. This time, we might really have to cut off the network on a large scale and reduce the number of terminal nodes. This will limit the range of the virus core and reduce the number of exits it can choose. At every terminal node, we'll arrange people to create traps. The ambushers have to be beyond grade of virtual mechanics who have mastered virtual paramount. Because after the virus core materializes, It does not need to touch the terminal and can enter the quantum network at any time, so the opportunity is only for a short moment. The moment the virus core materializes, the ambushing beyond grade A mechanics will use virtual paramount to suppress the virus core's virtual soul, making it unable to leave the body temporarily. The technology to seal the virus core is ready-made. That safe prevents the virus core from leaking out, so it will definitely be able to suppress the virus core's virtual soul and prevent it from entering the quantum network. As long as we analyze that triangular container, we'll be able to master this targeted technology. Hearing this, everyone could not help but size Han Shao up again with strange gazes. Putting aside the feasibility of your plan, just the fact that the ambushers have to be virtual mechanics who have mastered virtual paramount is a little too brazen. Virtual paramount is an ability that only divine throne mechanics who specialize in virtual mechanics can master. Naturally, it has to be a pinnacle beyond grade A. You have one and Manison has one. So, what you're saying is that only virtual green kings like you can fight for the virus core, and even the 3 universal civilizations have to step aside? Are you sure you're not tricking us? Manison, on the other hand, laughed and praised this plan. Black Star said it well. It's our duty to maintain the peace of the universe. How many terminal nodes are there that can be used as traps? How about this? I'm willing to mobilize 50 million spare Lord's avatars and place them in the various nodes, ensuring that I can descend at the location of the virus core at any time. Is that enough? Chapter 11:17. As soon as Manison finished speaking, the atmosphere in the conference room instantly fell silent. Everyone's eyes turned to Manison in unison. Their eyes were filled with a "what the F*** CK" emotion. Listen to this, is that something a human would say? Han Shao almost gasped. He could not help but size Manison up with a strange gaze. Do you really have 50 million Lord's avatars as carriers? Maybe I'm exaggerating a little. This is just an imaginary number. Manison laughed. That's more like it. These things are not mechanical soldiers. How can I make so many? I don't even have 5,000 50,000 backup Lord's avatars. Han Shao secretly heaved a sigh of relief and subconsciously asked, how many do you have? 48,1052. Oh, 54. Speaking of which, there are 2 more now. The world fell silent. Han Zhao's mouth twitched. His mind was a little messed up. He could not understand at all. No, I can understand how many mechanical soldiers you make, but what's the use of so many Lord's avatars? Only one can descend at a time. It's a waste to have more. Can you use them all? Manison. Oh, I lack a sense of security. It's better to be prepared. The world fell silent again. You, the great Mecha Empire, lack a sense of security? King. Sure, this is a very strong reason. Other than calling him shameless, the people present had nothing to say. Han Shao just wanted to blow Manison's head off. This is showing off, right? This is definitely showing off. Almost 50 million Lord's avatars, and you're still a human? How rich do you have to be to dare to do this? This is going to take over all the ambush locations. So what if you have money? Sensing Black Star's resentment that was about to overflow, Manison smiled faintly and gave him a look. Yes, it's great to have money. Thank you for your help. Han Shao gritted his teeth and sent Manison a private message. Don't try to fool us. You've created tens of millions of sovereign clones. That's a waste of resources. You're still too young. The mechanical race has nothing but machines. Manison smiled and stroked his beard. He thought for a while and added, and money. Damn, I almost forgot that you're a second-generation heir. Rich dog. Han Shao felt as if he had eaten 10 lemons. He secretly gritted his teeth. I was the one who came up with the plan. Shouldn't you do something about it? Why don't you give me 10 million sovereign clones? My doppelganger has my own size. You can't use it, so what do you want it for? Manison raised his eyebrows. I can reforge 10 million sovereign avatars. The cost of the materials isn't a small sum. Sure, give me the spacetime amber in exchange. Crawl. Han Zhao's face darkened, and he decisively ended the private chat. That old fogey craves my spacetime amber every day. Bad thing. As the two of them exchanged glances, the people in charge of the three universal civilizations also glanced back and forth between the two of them with strong suspicion in their eyes. One was the president of the Beyond Grade A Development Union, and the other was the vice president. These two probably colluded to put on an act, right? Sidrian coughed and resisted the urge to eat something delicious. He forced a smile and said, "That's right. We're very grateful for your Excellency's generosity, but the battle plan hasn't been decided yet. There's no need to rush, that's true." Manison nodded and casually raised his hand, indicating that he was just casually speaking and that they could continue chatting. Sidrian then turned to look at Han Zhao and said with a deep voice, "Your Excellency Black Star, your idea seems good, but its feasibility is still questionable. First, we have to ensure that the virus core returns to the quantum network. Only then can we cut off the network on a large scale and control the other party's exit range. However, how do we determine when it logs onto the network? You have to know that those virus packets don't have a uniform time to send feedback data, so we can't determine when the virus core comes online. Secondly, we can't even lock onto the data form of the virus core for the time being, so it's difficult to track it on the network. If it stays in the quantum network, will we not be able to find it? Therefore, this is only a prototype of the idea. We still need to perfect the details, but the general idea should be feasible," Han Zhao said. "There are ways to solve all these problems. Since we know that the virus core is a life form and have its details, we can use this as an anchor point and use prophecy magic to find the other party's login time," Kant added. "Regarding the data form of the virus core, I can provide some details," Manison said. "Although I didn't catch it, I recorded the data traces it left behind when it was active in the quantum network. These are the other party's characteristics. We should be able to lock onto its data form by scanning and matching it." Everyone discussed for a while and gradually perfected the details. They all felt that this battle plan was worth a try. At this time, Shidrin raised one last condition. "I have one last question. Participating in this battle plan doesn't necessarily require mastery of virtual paramount. Every Beyond Grade A mechanic should have the ability to catch the virus core. If all the Beyond Grade As here participate, the chances will be higher." He did not believe Han Zhao's nonsense. If Beyond Grade A mechanics had the ability to catch the virus core, how could they have to master virtual paramount? That had to be a scheme by Black Star and the Mecha Empire to monopolize it. "We have no objections. We're happy to help." The others all agreed. "Of course, none of you have any objections. You have a chance to fight for the virus core." "What objections can you have?" Han Zhao thought to himself. "Then, it's settled." Sidrian slapped the table and said with a serious expression, "This plan still needs to be approved by the upper echelons. The two people in charge and I have to report it. There will be a result very soon, and it should be very smooth. This operation will rely on the abilities of all of you Beyond Grade As. I hope that all of you are well prepared. The safety of the universe will depend on all of you." Deactivating the remote projection, Han Zhao's gaze returned to the office. He bent his finger and casually knocked on the table. All the Beyond Grade A mechanics would participate in the operation to catch the virus core. Everyone wanted to fight for the virus core, so choosing the ambush location was of utmost importance. This was a matter of probability. The more clones there were, the higher the chances of them ambushing the virus core. In this aspect, no one could compare to the Mecha Empire. In comparison, Han Zhao had very few backup Lord's clones. It was not that he lacked money, but to him, creating too many of them was useless. He could only send one clone at a time, and it was basically used to guard the base. Old Manison clearly had bad intentions for creating so many clones. He probably wanted to guard countless planets one day. Humph. His ambition was clear as day. Manison probably has more Lord's clones than the trap nodes. He'll definitely be able to find the virus core and be in an invincible position. I can only rely on my luck, and it's the same for the others. Han Xiao rubbed his forehead. There was no limit to the number of ambushers at the same location. Manison was everywhere, and there was no way to avoid him. This was too difficult. When the 3 universal civilizations finalize the star map of the trap nodes, I'll get Harrison to help me choose the ambush location. If my luck fails and I don't find the virus core, that's fine. However, if I find it, Manison's clones will most likely be nearby, and I'll have to compete with him. It'll definitely be a situation where I don't need to use my fist. I can only play it by ear. Han Xiao sighed. If there was any advantage he had, it would be that he did not need to care about the survival of the virus core. Other people would want to capture him alive and analyze the complete technology behind the domino virus, but he had the intelligent plague mission. Personally destroying the core of the virus would give him a related specialty. With the characteristics of the domino virus, the related specialty would probably be a virtual ability. Although this would mean that he would lose the opportunity to obtain the complete technology, thinking about it carefully, if such a threatening virtual virus was analyzed by the 3 universal civilizations or other beyond grade as, it might not be a good thing. Furthermore, even if he succeeded, it would be a hot potato. Countless people, including the 3 universal civilizations, would have their eyes on him. However, the domino virus technology could also become one of the weapons against the World Tree civilization. Han Xiao was in a dilemma as to what to do. Forget it, it's still too early to think about this. I have to ensure that I can encounter the virus first. Only then will I have the qualifications to compete with Manison. He calmed himself down. Anyway, this was going to be a large-scale operation, and the preparation period was not short. He had a lot of time, so he could add some production lines to create as many Lord's clones as possible and place them in more ambush locations to increase the probability of him encountering the virus core. This is Black Star's intelligence? On the other side, the remote projections of the 3 universal civilizations' leaders gathered together to listen to the report from Shidrin and the others. Right after the meeting held by Black Star ended, the 3 supervisors introduced the battle plan to the 3 leaders through the only encrypted external communication channel, hoping to obtain permission. After hearing the whole story, Urinril crossed her arms in front of her chest and slowly spoke. If Black Star's intelligence is true, he will be a great contributor to the explored universe, saving the disaster from the storm. Without his foresight, we would have had to pay the price of blood to discover the true face of the virtual mutiny virus. This plan was also proposed by him. If the virus core is captured because of this, Black Star will be the hero of the entire universe, changing the future that he predicted. Bader also expressed his appreciation. Black Star has indeed contributed, the ethereal Pope said calmly. Putting aside their past grudges, the Radiant Federation and the Arcane Church greatly appreciated Han Zhao's performance during the Intelligent Plague. In their eyes, he was very reliable and had contributed greatly. Thinking of this, the 3 of them looked at each other and nodded. We approve this operation. We allow you to mobilize the resources of the ancient Star Desert to carry out this battle plan. Don't disappoint us. Understood, Shidrin hurriedly agreed. This time, the ethereal Pope suddenly said, "There's another thing. Make sure that the virus core is controlled by us in the end. Don't let other beyond grade as get their hands on it." That's right. The virtual mutiny virus is a weapon of war. It's too dangerous. We definitely can't let this technology spread, or the order of the universe will be threatened. Bader agreed and added, especially Black Star and the Mecha Empire. If a peak beyond grade of virtual mechanic obtains this technology and improves it, it might evolve into a hidden danger even more terrifying than the intelligent plague. Even though Manison was an ally of the Radiant Federation, Bader was not biased. Although they all wanted to obtain this technology, the three of them understood that preventing a fourth party from controlling the virus was a more important task. In the eyes of the three universal civilizations, this kind of weapon of war with strategic deterrence was only beneficial to the entire universe if they monopolized it. Somewhere in the ancient star desert, a desolate planet welcomed a small civilian transport fleet. This was a legal interstellar transport company. It was not large, and it was not famous. It only operated a few fixed routes, and its business scope was limited to a few star zones in the same star system. There was a small desolate universe belt here. Because it was not large, the advanced civilizations did not set up Stargate. Thus, many long-distance transport companies were created to cross this desolate universe belt. At this time, the transport fleet slowly stopped outside the planet's atmosphere. Resupply here. This planet has fuel resources. Go up and collect some. In the main ship, a senior captain who had worked in this transport company for many years gave the order. This time, a member of the exploration team suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Reporting to the captain, the radar detection shows that this planet is shrouded in a strange electromagnetic field storm. The captain was stunned. He came to the porthole and found that the atmosphere of this desolate planet was constantly flashing with light blue plasma arcs, looking like a looming electromagnetic shell. That's strange. I've been running this transport route for decades, and I don't know how many times I've stopped at this planet. When did this electromagnetic field storm phenomenon appear here? The captain muttered to himself and went to the radar to check the detection result. The energy structure of the electromagnetic field appeared on the screen, and the more he looked at it, the more familiar it seemed. This electromagnetic field model. A member of the exploration team hesitated. Why does it look a little like the bioelectric network of the brain's neuron activity? The captain was shocked. When he looked closer, the structure of this electromagnetic field was like a brain magnified countless times. Could it be alive? It can't be an electromagnetic field life form, right? The captain was surprised. This kind of field-type life form had always been a rare life form. It could be sold to collectors with special tastes, and the price was not cheap. Thinking of this, the captain hurriedly gave the order. Quick, find a way to capture it. This is an unexpected gain. However, as soon as he said that, the electromagnetic field storm that shrouded the planet suddenly dissipated and disappeared into thin air. It also disappeared on the radar as if it had never appeared. The members in the cabin were stunned. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? The captain rubbed his eyes with a look of surprise. Chapter 11-18. On the Star Arc civilization's mother planet, the upper echelons were having a discussion in the conference room. The three universal civilizations sent a notice not long ago, asking us to listen to their orders and be prepared to shut down the quantum network base stations on all planets. What are they trying to do? Isn't the intelligent plague already under control? Now that the three universal civilizations are doing this, could it be that something has changed? Or are the three universal civilizations going to mess with us again? The upper echelons all had tense expressions and were filled with suspicion. Originally, when the three universal civilizations announced the completion of the antivirus three-piece set, they felt that the intelligent plague was basically solved. Thus, they focused their attention on the situation of the ancient star desert being sealed, thinking that the three universal civilizations might take the opportunity to do something to them. They were paranoid all the time, as if they were suffering from paranoia. The three universal civilizations suddenly ordered them to be prepared to cut off the quantum network in their territory at any time. This made the Star Arc civilization even more sensitive, almost thinking that this was a signal to attack them. This time, it was not cutting off external communication but shutting down the quantum network in their territory, destroying the cornerstone of the galactic society. In the galactic era, large civilizations like them relied on the real-time information exchange of the quantum network to rule and govern the various planets. Now that they were asked to completely cut off the network, it meant that they would temporarily give up their ruling power over their territory, causing the various regions to fall into an unknown period of time without a central authority. The civilization leader knocked on the table, making the room quiet down before speaking. The three universal civilizations issued the same notice to the other civilizations, not just us. Hearing this, everyone nodded in agreement. Then, it seems like it's related to the intelligent plague. How are the three universal civilizations doing recently? A high-ranking official asked. The head of the intelligence department raised his eyelids and said, "The three universal civilizations are scattered across the various planets. The troops of the three universal civilizations are stationed on various planets, and those beyond Grade A mechanics are also acting strangely. They're sending their own mechanical troops to those planets, as if they're going to do something big." All the beyond Grade A mechanics are on the move? Yes, all of them. What do you think they're doing? I'm not sure, but it looks like they're setting up an ambush. The civilization leader pondered for a moment before slowly saying, "Cooperate with the three universal civilizations. Investigate what the three universal civilizations and these beyond grade as are doing. Keep a close eye on them and don't ignore any of their movements. I want to know what their purpose is." Flickering World, Development Union Headquarters, Planet Finn. Many beyond grade or remote projections were gathered here, holding regular meetings to communicate. Many of the positions were empty, and most of them were beyond Grade A mechanics who had been recruited. The positions of the President and Vice President were also empty. Speaking of which, the Mecha Empire and Black Star have been absent from several meetings. I wonder how they are doing in the Ancient Star Desert? Someone inadvertently brought up this topic, which immediately aroused everyone's interest. The intelligent plague in the Ancient Star Desert has been going on for several months without any news. What's the situation now? Is the disaster under control? The star field has sealed off all information. I can't get any information either. Do any of you know the situation? Because the three universal civilizations had rated the intelligent plague as a world-destroying universal disaster, the entire universe was very concerned about the situation in the Ancient Star Desert. However, due to the information blockade, there was no way to know the progress. The beyond grade as present were also curious. "Hey, Hela, is there any news about your army commander?" A beyond grade A turned to look at the silent Hela. "No," Hela replied concisely. She was also a member of the association. Since Black Star was absent, she had become the representative of the Black Star Corps. Tolian curled his lips and said, "Humph, Black Star has probably been killed. Are you asking for a beating again?" Hela was expressionless. Tolian smiled sinisterly. "The way I see it, the three universal civilizations calling all the beyond Grade A mechanics over is a scheme. Think about it, both the President and the Vice President are mechanic. Isn't this like catching everyone in one go?" The allies of the Arcane Church all looked at him, speechless. "Which side are you on? Is it really okay to spread rumors about your boss like this? Don't talk nonsense. You have to take responsibility," an ethereal direct member said unhappily. "Sorry, I always speak my mind." Tolian snorted. Hela could not be bothered with him, but she was still a little worried. The other mechanics had all sent their avatars over, and only Black Star's main body was there. The Ancient Star Desert was sealed. If the three universal civilizations really wanted to do anything to Black Star, that place would instantly become a dead end. Hela did not trust the three universal civilizations from the bottom of her heart. Although she had the teleportation function of the King mechanical suit, it could not dispel her worries. On the other side, Secret Master, who was resting with his eyes closed, could not help but tremble as he listened to everyone's argument. As the protector of the black market, he was more curious about the situation in the ancient star desert than anyone else. Ever since the star field was sealed, all contact with the black markets there had been cut off. Many of them were businesses under his protection, which had always provided him with huge profits. Some of them were Beast Ancestors businesses that he had just taken over not long ago. After not contacting them for so long, he had no idea how his businesses were doing. I wonder what the situation in the ancient star desert is like now. Secret Master's thoughts drifted away as he guessed. The three universal civilizations made arrangements according to Han Zhao's battle plan and spent more than a month preparing. They sent their fleets to each trap node planet. Most of the time was spent on traveling, waiting for the various beyond grade mechanical troops to arrive at the ambush locations. Because this was a star field level local area network, there were quite a number of trap nodes spread throughout the various star systems of the ancient star desert. The trap nodes that the three universal civilizations chose were mainly in areas that were not easy to control with just a notification or some important locations. Every terminal exit was guarded by the beyond grade A mechanics and the three universal civilizations fleet. Manason's Lord's avatars were stationed at every location. Han Xiao had created a new batch of Lord's avatars during this time, but the number was still limited. He settled for the next best thing and arranged mechanical troops at every ambush location. As for the limited number of Lord's avatars, they were placed at carefully selected locations, referring to Harrison, to try their luck. The target of a Lord's descent was not limited to the Lord's avatars. Even ordinary mechanical soldiers could be used as carriers. However, the shared skills were not complete, and their combat power was far lower than that of the Lord's avatars. Therefore, even if the beyond grade A mechanics who had mastered Lord's descent could ambush at every location, they could only be bystanders at most. They did not have the advantage that Manason had. After all, ordinary mechanical soldiers would not be able to compete with Manason's Lord's avatars. Therefore, the other beyond grade A mechanics were all prepared to force the virus core to materialize at the node where their Lord's avatars were at during the first step of the network tracking. Due to the concealment of the virus core, there were no universal scanning tools at the moment. Only beyond grade A mechanics had the ability to track the virus core online. Although some of them were not specialized in virtual, as long as they had learned the ultimate knowledge of Virtual Creator, they would be able to cut down people online. In order to increase everyone's virtual ability and coverage, the Radiant Federation took out a large-scale strategic device called the Super Range Virtual Brainwave Amplifier. This was a piece of equipment specially made for mechanics. It increased their virtual ability in many ways and greatly increased the coverage area. In the hands of a beyond grade A mechanic, it was the most effective. The size of the device was extremely large. It was like a silver spherical galactic base. The exterior looked like it was pieced together by many boards. There were obvious gaps, and it was not smooth at all. The interior of the device was extremely spacious. In the center, all the beyond grade A mechanics formed a circle and floated in midair, facing each other. They were all in position. The remote projections of Shidran and the other two sensors appeared in the circle. They solemnly said, "Everyone, the mechanical troops have been deployed. There are only 13 minutes left until the predicted virus core goes online. When the time is up, we will immediately cut off the network and turn the ancient star desert into a trap. Please act according to the battle plan. Everyone, please capture the virus core." Everyone nodded. Although the mission on their shoulders was very heavy, everyone present was a big shot who stood at the peak of the universe, so they did not feel much pressure. The first step of the battle plan was to cut off the network. After the trap was set, everyone would track the virus core on the network and prevent it from hiding. It was like catching a chicken in a cage. With the data provided by Madison, as well as the enhancement of the super-range virtual brainwave amplifier, they could track the virus indefinitely without letting the virus core escape. At this moment, Kant smiled and said, "This should be the first time all the beyond grade A mechanics in the universe have worked together. I think it will be recorded in history." Hearing this, many people present laughed in unison. All the top figures in the mechanic world working together was undoubtedly a representative event. Han Shao glanced at everyone and curled his lip. Humph, these people are laughing so happily now. When they fight for the virus core later, their brains will be out of their head. I hope Harrison's halo is reliable this time, and the virus core will end up in the hands of my lord's avatar. Han Shao did not participate in the compliments and prayed silently in his heart. Everyone quietened down and adjusted their state of mind. Time passed by minute. Finally, when the countdown reached 1 minute, Shidrin looked at the time and said with a deep voice, "Everyone, let's move." In the quantum network vision, the ancient star desert was a dimly glowing star field. Countless shining nodes converged into a sea of light. Countless data links between the nodes outlined a complicated three-dimensional network structure that extended in all directions. These thread-like data links formed the cornerstone of the galactic society. At this moment, the view zoomed in, and a stream of light suddenly appeared outside one of the thread-like data links. This stream of light looked like an extremely precise data model. There were no numbers flowing on the shell. This was the data form of the Domino virus core, showing the structure of an artificial intelligence life. The next second, the virus core touched the firewall of the data link. Its shell instantly assimilated with the firewall, easily evading the alarm mechanism. It completely infiltrated the link and moved along with the flow of information, capturing the feedback data of the virus packets swimming in the network. It was like a big fish eating a small fish. However, at this moment, a large part of the ancient star desert that was shining in the quantum network vision suddenly dimmed. The data links broke one after another, and a large number of nodes went out at the same time. Only a small part of the sea of light was left. At the same time, more than a dozen powerful consciousnesses suddenly descended on the quantum network and scanned the remaining quantum network area inch by inch. It was as if all the data had nowhere to hide. The next moment, one of the consciousnesses suddenly locked onto the virus core. The data stream condensed out of thin air, and a glowing figure appeared in front of the virus core. Kant's virtual soul had a faint smile on its face. "Found you." At this moment, the virus core program quickly made a judgment and immediately adopted a response plan to escape. Following the data link, the virus core changed its disguise many times and frantically escaped to countless nodes. However, suddenly, a data stream tornado appeared in front of it. "Do you want to play hide and seek?" The data stream formed the face of the quantum demon spirit, Judith, quietly staring at the virus core. The virus core did not hesitate and turned to escape again, wanting to find a place to hide in the quantum network to get rid of the tracking. However, no matter how much computing power the virus core used to disguise itself, it would still encounter the figure of a beyond grade A mechanic every time it ran. It was forced to change its direction time and time again, as if it was in a panic. Han Shao, Madison, Kant, Judith, and more than a dozen beyond grade A mechanics appeared one after another, blocking the virus core's path time and time again. The encirclement gradually took shape and shrank. This scene was like a group of sneering bullies surrounding a virtuous woman. No matter how hard she tried, she would be pushed back to the center of the encirclement with nowhere to run. At this moment, the virus core stopped running and entered one of the nodes, suddenly disappearing into thin air. It has materialized. In the material world, the eyes of Han Zhao's main body, who was staying in the super-range virtual brainwave amplifier, suddenly sparkled. The terminal exit that the virus core had chosen seemed to be a planet occupied by the machinery faith. That was one of the ambush locations of his lord's avatar. At the same time, powerful mechanical force burst out of every mechanic around Han Zhao. Many lords' consciousnesses shot toward the planet where the node was located. Chapter 11-19. Ancient Star Desert, somewhere in the desolate universe belt, planet Magnetic Cloud. This was one of the settlements of the machinery faith. The ground was yellowish-black, and heavy bases in the machinery faith style were rooted on the surface, arranged neatly, forming a circular industrial city. Around it were open-air mines with countless large industrial cranes hanging on them. The streets of the city extended in all directions, all flattened gray roads. Fleet after fleet of transport vehicles roared past, sweeping past the pedestrians in heavy power armor on both sides of the street. In the center of the circular city was a towering mountain, cut off from the middle into a platform where the machinery faith community sat. Right above it was a floating island, emitting a gentle artificial light. The machinery faith had many believers, with many internal factions, loose management, and wandering nature. Usually, with the Grand Priest and the various bishops as the core, they gathered a group of believers from different factions to form a fleet, searching for planets in the universe and constantly migrating. Their goal was to excavate the minerals and underground mechanical wreckage of the planet, hoard them, or sell them. Therefore, most of the planets occupied by the machinery faith were only temporary strongholds, somewhat like a wandering sect. The machinery faith did not have many fixed strongholds. Some were branches of different factions, some were long-term settlements of believers like planet Magnetic Cloud, and some were recognized as holy lands by all believers. Now, the three universal civilizations' heavy-armored fleet was hovering in the blue-black sky of planet Magnetic Cloud. The believers on the surface were not surprised, occasionally glancing up before lowering their heads and continuing with what they were doing. The three universal civilizations had already greeted the machinery faith. This kind of loose religious organization had always been difficult to manage. The three universal civilizations did not trust the machinery faith's ability to execute orders, so they simply sent a fleet to station here, using it as a trap node. At this moment, on the open-air platform at the top of the machinery faith temple, the Grand Priest in the bishop armor looked up at the fleet in the sky and whispered to himself. Seeing this, the priest beside him walked over and asked, "Grand Priest, are you worried about the three universal civilizations' fleet?" The Grand Priest shook his head. "We're just a civilian association, following the law. We don't have much interaction with the three universal civilizations, so they won't do anything to us. I'm just glad that the three universal civilizations are here." Glad? That's right. Ever since the outbreak of the intelligent plague, the number of zealots in the church has been increasing day by day. Not only are they secretly researching the virtual mutiny virus, but they even want to spread it. This goes against the original intention of the machinery faith to be neutral. Their twisted beliefs will bring disaster to the church. Now that the three universal civilizations' fleets are here, they've indirectly suppressed those zealots, the Grand Priest mumbled. Now that he thought about it, his heart still felt heavy. After the three universal civilizations developed the antivirus, there were even some fanatics who used the banner of promoting God's revelation, wanting to modify the virus and crack the antivirus so that the intelligent plague could continue. They insisted that this was a great artificial intelligence revolution. Thus, he had no choice but to mobilize the Guardian Legion and lock these people up. However, this thought remained and continued to spread throughout the settlement. "Well, maybe." The priest paused for a moment before asking in confusion, I still don't understand why the three universal civilizations are temporarily requisitioning our settlement. It seems to have something to do with the intelligent plague. I'm not too sure either. The Grand Priest shook his head. Before he could finish his sentence, the armor's built-in radar suddenly reacted. Abnormality detected in the magnetic field of the planet, creating a vortex phenomenon. Coordinates. The Grand Priest was stunned. He turned around with his companions and looked in the direction of the magnetic vortex. The magnetic field of planet Magnetic Cloud was very special. The armor of the machinery faith believers here had specialized monitors for the magnetic field. Now that they all heard the report from the radar, the pedestrians on the street stopped and looked in the same direction. Everyone switched to their electromagnetic vision, and the flow of the magnetic field was clearly visible. In the distant sky, the electromagnetic field seemed to have formed a tornado. Bright electric arcs appeared out of thin air, quickly forming an energy field. At this time, something unexpected happened. Boom! Dazzling meteors flew out from the three universal civilizations' fleets in outer space, rapidly falling in the direction of the electromagnetic field vortex. Although the shooting stars were not large in size, they were all emitting astonishing energy waves. Dazzling electric arcs were left behind and did not disperse in the retina for a long time. Together with the rumbling of thunder, it was as if the sky was collapsing. What's that? Including the Grand Priest, the machinery faith believers on planet Magnetic Cloud were all shocked. At this time, this batch of meteors had reached the position of the electromagnetic field vortex and stopped. The flames on their bodies dissipated, revealing the appearance of mechanical bodies. They were all the Lord's avatars of the Beyond Grade A mechanics. Manison, who was in the lead, was the fastest. He raised his eyes and glared, and the electromagnetic vortex stopped for a moment. Then, he raised his hand and grabbed the electric arc field in the center of the vortex. It was sucked into a miniature triangular container the size of a head. In the next moment, the abnormal electromagnetic vortex phenomenon disappeared, as if the wind and rain had stopped and the sky was clear. It was as if the electromagnetic tornado just now was just an illusion. Those are the Lord's avatars of the Beyond Grade A mechanics? Seeing this, although they did not know what had happened, the machinery faith believers were instantly excited. In their eyes, the appearance of so many Beyond Grade A mechanics was no less than the descent of gods. However, before they could be surprised, the situation changed again. The other Beyond Grade A Lord's avatars, who were one step behind, attacked Manison at the same time, raising their hands and stabbing him in the back. Bang! 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 Light exploded in midair, reflecting in the eyes of countless machinery faith believers. The next second, Manison's Lord's avatar flew out of the explosion and was surrounded by everyone. Seeing this, a look of surprise flashed across the eyes of every believer. These Beyond Grade A mechanics are going to fight here? Then, aren't we involved in a war of gods? Rewind time to 10 seconds. In the three universal civilizations' fleets outside planet Magnetic Cloud, mechanical troops of different mechanics floated. Some of the mechanical troops surrounded their respective lords' avatars. The moment the virus core left the quantum network, everyone's lord's consciousness chased after it, and the eyes of the mechanical bodies suddenly lit up. Target locked. As soon as Han Shao arrived, the sound of the detection radar rang in his ears. At the same time, a black shadow fell rapidly not far away. It was Manison's avatar, and it rushed toward the virus core first. This old thing is so fast. This thought flashed through Han Zhao's mind. Just as he was about to use his skills, he realized that void hyperdrive and other flash abilities were all in a state where he could not use them. His eyes narrowed, and he immediately understood something. Without any delay, he immediately fell to the ground. Behind him, meteors followed one after another, all of which were other people's avatars or troops. Bang! The group passed through the atmosphere one after another, and the friction created a layer of flames. Han Xiao stared at the target closely. The electromagnetic vortex expanded rapidly in his sight, and the distance between them was instantly shortened. The virus core had just left the quantum network and was in the middle of gathering electromagnetic energy to form a body. At this time, it noticed a group of beyond grade A Lord's avatars approaching, so it immediately gave up on materializing and escaped into the quantum network again. However, at this moment, Manason's eyes shot out a strong electric light, and he activated Virtual Paramount. First, buzz. The virtual soul of the virus core was instantly suppressed, unable to leave the body that had not yet fully formed. Manason's movements were smooth, and he did not stop at all. He quickly took out a special containment device and sucked the virus core into it. This kind of container was specially made to contain the virus core's ability. As long as it was caught, the virus core would definitely not be able to escape. Old Manason got it. Han Zhao's eyes narrowed. However, at the next moment, the other lords' avatars followed closely behind and attacked at the same time. Highly concentrated beams brushed past his body and went straight for Manason's back. Bang! Bang! Manason had expected this. Layers of shields appeared and blocked everyone's attacks, causing a violent explosion. Using this push, he quickly pulled away and turned to face everyone, still holding the virus core container in his hand. Everyone surrounded Manason and confronted him. "Be careful. If you destroy the container, my efforts will be in vain." Manason wasn't angry at all as he spoke calmly. The direct descendant of the Radiant Federation, Protector Romo, said with a deep voice, "Manason, hand over the virus core. You know very well that this kind of thing cannot be leaked." The remote projections of Shidran and the other people in charge appeared beside him and said with a serious tone, "That's right, Your Excellency Mecha Empire. You're a reasonable person. Our 3 universal civilizations will definitely reward you for capturing the virus core. However, this thing cannot be allowed to remain in the hands of others. No need to be so nervous. When I'm done, not only will I hand over the virus core, but I'll also share the technology I've analyzed." Manason was very casual and did not panic. Han Xiao did not say anything. He looked around and nodded. He had expected this situation long ago. In his previous life, someone had intercepted the virus core and probably obtained it secretly. However, the current situation was completely different. The virus core was a hot potato. No matter which mechanic obtained it, they would immediately face difficulties and become the target of other mechanics. At the same time, the 3 universal civilizations would definitely ask for it in public. Battleships were of no help in capturing the virus core, so why did the 3 universal civilizations set up a fleet at the trap nodes? Obviously, this was not to deal with the virus core but to deal with beyond grade A mechanics like them. The Lord's avatars present basically all had short-range hyperdrive abilities. Han Xiao even had Void Flash, but no one used it. This was because the fleet had already activated the spacetime stabilization anchor at the trap nodes to prevent anyone from escaping. It was precisely because the spacetime around planet Magnetic Cloud was locked that Manason stayed here to talk. Otherwise, he would have disappeared with a hyperdrive the moment he got it. If he wanted to leave with the virus core, he could only fight his way out. However, although the 3 universal civilizations and the other mechanics tried to take the virus core, they were worried about destroying the container, so they restrained themselves. The 3 universal civilizations hoped to get the virus core back from Manason through negotiations. They were even mentally prepared for the other party to raise the price. Mecha Empire, the virtual mutiny virus, is a strategic weapon technology that can threaten the entire universe. Only the 3 universal civilizations have control of it will not cause any problems. We will not allow any risks to exist, so no matter what, we have to get the virus core today. You should understand the seriousness of this problem," the supervisor of the Arcane Church said with a firm tone. Manison did not respond immediately. Instead, he glanced at the other mechanic avatars and slowly said, "Do you see it? Do you see that? Whoever obtains the virus core will have to face such a situation. Do you still want to continue fighting? To be honest, I'm not that interested in the virus core. After all, I'm not a virtual mechanic. However, I don't mind using this bargaining chip to exchange for more good stuff." Kant chuckled. "Don't look at me. As long as I get the virus core, I can regain my freedom." "I'm now on Ethereal's side," Francisco said. "As long as there's a chance, we have to fight for it with all our might." "Teacher, this is what you taught me," Mechanical Queen Morniza said calmly. Everyone expressed their stance. Although their reasons were different, they all expressed their determination to get the virus core. In the end, Manison's gaze stopped on Han Xiao. "Black Star, what about you?" Han Xiao did not answer directly. Instead, he raised his tone and said, "You've asked around. It's not just a casual conversation, right? Are you stalling for time, or are you trying to find an ally?" Hearing this, Manison smiled. "Black Star, you know me best. That's right, I need an ally to deal with this tricky situation with me. You and I both understand the situation of the Beyond Grade as we're on the same side. I'm researching the virtual mutiny virus technology, not only because of the technology but also to fight for a guarantee for the Beyond Grade as. If you're willing to help me, I don't mind you researching this technology with me." As soon as he said that, everyone looked at Han Xiao. Some were curious, some were wary, and some were mocking him. Han Xiao was indifferent and said casually, "That's right. Sounds good, but I think you'll go back on your word. Hee, you might not believe me, but I need someone to take this risk with me. It's more beneficial for me to have two people control this technology, so I won't go back on my word this time. Tisk tsk, you have no proof. It's useless no matter how nice your words sound." "Then, how do you want me to prove it?" Han Xiao pointed at the container in Manison's hand and smiled. "Since you're willing to research it together, it doesn't matter who has the virus core. You give me the device, I'll take the risk, and you'll help me break out. This way, I'll believe your sincerity. Otherwise, you'll be cheating my feelings. I have no problem with that, but you're willing to research it together with me now that it's in your hands? How can I be sure that you won't go back on your word?" Manison asked. "Just like what you said earlier, I'll attract too much attention alone. I also need a shield." Han Xiao shrugged. Manison was silent for a few seconds. Just as the atmosphere was getting more and more tense, he slowly opened his mouth. His attitude immediately shocked everyone. "If that's the case, why can't I give it to you?" Chapter 11:20. At the same time, the image of planet magnetic cloud was broadcasted to the central galaxy through the encrypted military channel. The leaders of the three universal civilizations were monitoring the situation in real time. Seeing this, the three of them fell silent. Bader let out a sigh and slowly said, "Manison, the freedom we gave him went too far. We can tolerate other things, but he crossed the line." The ethereal Pope's eyes were distant. "He always ignored our warnings and challenged our authority time and time again. Now, he even wants to take over the strategic deterrence weapon, saying that it's for the so-called Beyond Grade as. He just wants to make us fear him and gain the right to speak on an equal footing. In the future, he will use this to threaten us and try to take whatever he wants from us. This possibility must be eliminated from the source. I remember that Black Star has an ability similar to the multidimensional sky opening transportation device. If he works with Manison and takes over the virus core, he can immediately break through the seal and teleport away." Bader turned to look at the silent Urinril and said with a slightly heavier tone, "As long as he teleports away with the virus core now, From now on, we will assume that the virtual mutiny virus technology is in Black Star's hands. So, Your Excellency, what do you plan to do? Urinril was silent for a while before saying, "Now is not a good time to purge. The flickering world is being developed, and the supercluster civilization is a threat. If we force Black Star and the Mecha Empire to rebel, they might take the virtual mutiny virus and join the supercluster civilization. That's the real risk. Let's try not to go to that step." That's right. The supercluster civilization is a hidden danger. Logically speaking, now is not a good time for us to start a purge. However, there should be a limit to our compromise and tolerance. We can't cross the bottom line, Bader said with a deep voice. The ethereal Pope's tone was solemn. Perhaps having a trump card to protect their personal safety is a reasonable request of the Beyond Grade as. However, we cannot ignore the threat this hidden danger poses to our ruling position. I know that if Black Star or the Mecha Empire obtains the virus technology, as long as we don't provoke them, we will be fine. The worst-case scenario will not happen for the time being. However, a hidden danger is still a hidden danger. Just because it won't happen in the short term, can we just cover our eyes and pretend that none of this has happened? We didn't rely on others to get to where we are today. Urinril frowned and said in a low voice, "Do you know what you're talking about? You're talking about a war that will sweep across all the advanced civilizations in the universe, a purge that will last for hundreds of years. Don't you know the consequences? Do you want to go back to the exploration era?" It's not to the extent of the exploration era. We're already the overlords, and no one can surpass us. Perhaps this will be an unprecedented chaos in the history of the galactic calendar, but we can clear away all obstacles. This is better than watching the enemy grow and become too big to handle in the end. It's better to end the pain quickly than to prolong the agony, the Pope said calmly. Then, what about the threat of the supercluster? If the supercluster civilizations want to use the virtual mutiny virus technology, we'll announce it to the entire universe. This is the best reason for war. The supercluster civilizations don't care about the safety of the universe and attempt to use such a dangerous weapon. In order to maintain order, we have to purge them. This is an opportunity to directly use war to destroy all the supercluster civilizations. Although both sides will suffer great losses, nothing will be able to shake our rule in the future. After destroying the enemy, we'll have more than enough time to settle our internal affairs. Urinril pursed her lips and squeezed her voice out from between her teeth. Stability trumps everything. The ethereal Pope was indifferent. The bottom line is not to be challenged. The atmosphere was in a stalemate. It was common for the three parties to have different opinions in a joint meeting. Seeing the two opposing each other, Bader looked around with a strange expression. The Red Empire, which had always been radical, was shouting for stability today, and the Arcane Church, which was usually sneaky, had turned into a war fanatic? Bader only felt that the world was really strange. He suppressed his astonishment, coughed, and tried to smooth things over. The Pope is very courageous. Since the Empire ruler doesn't agree with the radical approach, perhaps we can change our approach. Let's say the Mecha Empire and Black Star succeed. We can compromise temporarily, but the condition is to let them deal with the supercluster civilizations. When both sides suffer great losses, we'll deal with both sides. You're taking it for granted. The Pope shook his head. If the Mechanic Emperor and the others obtain the technology, they will definitely understand the principle of, if the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold. They will not eliminate another potential customer, or the chips in their hands will lose their greatest deterrent. Urinril said with a sullen expression, "The direction is not clear now. Black Star has not agreed to join forces with the Mecha Empire. He is a sensible person, and I believe he will make a choice that is beneficial to the peace of the universe." The ethereal Pope said lightly, "What if? Radiance once valued the Mecha Empire's allies too much. causing him to gradually lose control. With such a precedent, the Empire will not continue to choose to protect Black Star in order not to offend him, right? The general situation is still an ally, and you need to make a choice. Blindly pleasing them will only make them feel that you are weaker. Hearing this, Urianril closed her eyes. After a while, she opened them, and an indifferent light filled her eyes. When that time comes, I will naturally take countermeasures. For example, you don't need to worry about that, Your Excellency. On the other side, the confrontation on planet Magnetic Cloud was still ongoing. As Manason's voice fell, everyone present was stunned. They did not expect Manason to have the courage to hand over the virus core. Han Xiaoxin was also shocked. He was just testing the waters, and did not expect Manason to really agree. Hearing this, Han Xiao could not help but hesitate. He did not immediately respond, and his mind was racing. Manason wants to work with me not only to divert the conflict, but also because of my king's teleportation ability. Of all the people here, only I can easily take the virus core out of the sealed area. Old Manason is powerful, but there are so many experts here. He probably does not have much confidence in breaking out, so he wants me. Han Xiao frowned. This body was the Lord's avatar, and it was not equipped with the king. However, as long as he opened the Dimension Factory, he could summon a spare mech from it, so it was not a problem. Manason is killing two birds with one stone. If I agree to his conditions and leave with the virus core, I will immediately become the target of public criticism. Manason, on the other hand, threw the hot potato to me. There is no need to break out of the encirclement. Instead, he removed himself, making me bear the greatest dissatisfaction of the three universal civilizations. If I break the contract after getting the technology, not only will I have to bear the pressure alone, but I will also have to bear the consequences of breaking the contract. Not only will I offend Manason, my reputation among the Beyond Grade as will plummet. Therefore, he predicted that I would need to find a partner in order to divert the pressure. Old Manason believed that he would have an 80% chance of sharing the technology, so he was willing to take the risk. Han Xiao clenched his teeth. Scheming against me again. What a dirty heart. The two of them did not talk privately but openly. Manason's intention was obvious, to divert the conflict. Everyone present understood this, but some were still anxious. Seeing that Han Xiao was about to be convinced, the person in charge of the dynasty saw that the situation was not good. He shouted, "Black Star! You have to think clearly about what you're doing." He could not help but be anxious. Although the fleet had activated the spacetime stabilization anchor, Black Star was the only one present who could teleport away without any restrictions. Although the two of them could run away, the temple could not. If the three universal civilizations did not retrieve the virus core on the spot and it was taken away, there would be endless trouble in the future. The few Beyond Grade A mechanics changed their positions, vaguely separating Manason and Han Xiao. At this moment, Manason raised the virus core container, stared at Han Xiao, and spoke again. "Black Star, I've always had high hopes for you. You should understand that this thing will be the amulet of the Beyond Grade as. We all have the same philosophy. Take it away, and our future is in your hands." Nonsense. Although you're the president of the association, you don't have the right to make such a decision on behalf of all the Beyond Grade as. No one needs you to arrange their future. Kant's body flashed, and he turned to Han Xiao. "Black Star, don't be fooled by him. Secretly keeping the virus core will not give us any protection. It will only bring disaster." Han Xiaoxin was hesitant. His philosophy was still different from the Mecha empires. He wanted to intervene in the calamity of the supers and preserve more strength to deal with the future World Tree civilization. Manason wanted to strengthen the Beyond Grade as and make the entire Beyond Grade as his backing. Another reason why he wanted the domino virus technology was to make the other Beyond Grade as even more united by his side and follow his lead with the so-called safety guarantee. In his previous life, Manison had most likely intercepted the domino virus, but he did not use it in the World Tree Civilization War. His ambition was self-evident. When the explored universe was threatened by external enemies, he still did not reveal his trump card. Clearly, he planned to use it on the 3 universal civilizations. Han Xiao looked around and saw everyone's expressions. Was the domino virus really a protective talisman? Not necessarily. It might be a death omen. How could the 3 universal civilizations be willing to be controlled by others? If they used this bargaining chip to threaten the other party, what they would get would not be a compromise but the determination of the 3 universal civilizations to eliminate the enemy at all costs. Most of the time, the 3 universal civilizations would consider the big picture, but it did not mean that the other party would give in without limit. Only when their strength was equal could strategic deterrence weapons reach a balance. However, if one side had overwhelming strength, it was hard to imagine that they would allow an outsider to take a weapon that could threaten them. If he obtained the domino virus technology, as long as he went crazy, he would be able to cause huge damage to the entire universe, causing the Galactic Society to regress a few eras. Thus, he would feel that the 3 universal civilizations had to compromise to appease him. However, this was precisely the source of the 3 universal civilizations' determination to eliminate this threat. Even if he did not have any intention of causing trouble, people would change, and the 3 universal civilizations would not be willing to take such a risk. From Han Zhao's perspective, it did not seem like a big deal for the 3 universal civilizations to sit back and watch them obtain the domino virus technology. As long as everyone restrained themselves, it seemed like no one would lose out. It seemed like a small matter and it would not be blown up. However, this was just his wishful thinking. The 3 universal civilizations had a bottom line. They could tolerate others being greedy, but they would not allow anyone to threaten their ruling position. In such a situation, as long as they ignored the warning and took away the virus core, no matter what they said afterward, the 3 universal civilizations would think that they had the intention to overthrow their rule or even replace it. If they really wanted to fall out, Han Xiao did not think that the other beyond grade as would be willing to stand on his side. He knew very well that everyone had their own plans. The so-called hundreds of people would respond to a single call was only because it suited the interests of most people. However, no one was prepared to fall out with the 3 universal civilizations now. When the time came, there would definitely be more people who would choose to protect themselves than those who would choose to walk the path of darkness. At that time, he and the Mecha Empire might be seen as the black sheep of the group, becoming heretics to be eliminated. Most of the time, only the side with more people could represent the class they belonged to. Furthermore, the impact of falling out with the 3 universal civilizations would be affected in many ways. The territory of the Black Star Core in the flickering world would be taken back. The civilizations would no longer provide any resource channels. The civil financial groups would collectively withdraw their investments and terminate their cooperation. The army's funds would be frozen, and they would not be able to buy or sell any resources through normal channels. Countless army soldiers would resign and leave, and the army's business would shrink on a large scale. As long as the 3 universal civilizations sent out a notice, this would be the result. All the benefits obtained from the advanced civilizations would disappear. They were all part of the Galactic Society. Those who were willing to stand on the side of the Black Star Core against the 3 universal civilizations would definitely be in the minority. After all, most of them were just ordinary people. They should not be blamed for choosing to protect themselves. Han Zhao's eyes flickered and he stopped joking. "You're betting on us." "I'm just thinking about the big picture." Manison's tone was calm. Han Xiao was silent for a while before suddenly exploding. A wave of void energy suddenly erupted and swept out, covering the entire area. Everyone present felt that the space had become extremely stagnant, like a swamp. Void prison. Because of the spacetime stabilizing device, the strength, duration, and range of this ability were greatly reduced, but it was barely enough. In this domain, only Han Zhao's movements were not restricted. His body moved, passed through the encirclement around him, and instantly flew in front of Manison. He grabbed the virus core with one hand and immediately retreated to the side. Black Star. With the domain removed, everyone quickly surrounded Han Zhao. Everyone's eyes fell on him, and their eyes were filled with all kinds of emotions, such as anger, worry, anxiety, and so on. Looks like you've thought it through. You're a smart person, so don't disappoint me. Outside the crowd, Manison stared at Han Zhao. Black Star, don't do anything stupid. Shidrin and the other inspectors were shocked. Han Zhao ignored the others and looked at the virus core in his hand, gently stroking the container to confirm that it was the real thing. With so many beyond grade as watching, there was no possibility of a switch going unnoticed. Fiddling with the virus core gave him the illusion that he was not holding a physical object, but the fate of countless people in this universe. The direction of the era might depend on his thoughts. This time, Han Zhao raised his head, met everyone's nervous gaze, and slowly spoke. Before gambling, you have to see the risks first. Sorry, maybe I made a wrong decision. I just suddenly remembered that a woman once said something to me. She said, no matter how big the universe is, there will always be an end, but ambition is endless. The moment he said that, under everyone's shocked gazes, Han Zhao's mechanical force exploded and surged into the container. The mechanical force mixed with virtual soul attacks completely eliminated the virus core from the soul and physical level, turning it into nothingness. Kacha! His fingers crushed the metal shell, and the empty container turned into pieces and fell to the ground. At this moment, the scene seemed to have frozen. Everyone present, including the leaders of the 3 universal civilizations who were watching the live broadcast, was stunned. Everyone had thought of many possibilities, but the current situation was completely out of everyone's expectations. Black Star destroyed the virus core? Crazy! Why would he do that? Even if you don't want it, don't destroy it. Manison's eyes suddenly lit up with dazzling lightning, and terrifying energy surged like a tsunami. His deep voice reverberated between heaven and earth, word by word. You. No. Do. You. Do. 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 What? Do. Do. Chapter 11:21. Lightning bolts danced in the air, and the violent energy wave was like a hurricane. The beyond grade A doppelgangers and mechanical army were all blown away. Han Zhao was blown away for a short distance, but he immediately stabilized himself and stared at the other party. Manison was surrounded by bright golden mechanical force arcs, releasing an extremely shocking aura. The peak beyond grade A energy was fully unleashed. Even though it was only a lord's avatar, Han Zhao still felt a heavy pressure. Manison's eyes were still locked on Han Zhao, and he repeated his previous question. Do you know what you've done? Are you angry? Han Zhao did not have any intention of explaining. I'm very disappointed in you. Do you understand what kind of opportunity you've just ruined? What's the purpose of destroying the virus core? Destroying the intelligent plague is the goal of our trip. I'm just doing what I should do. Also, I told you on the first day we arrived that stopping the universe from becoming chaotic is the historical responsibility of our generation. You didn't seem to take it seriously. Manison floated in the air, and his tone was emotionless. It seems like I don't know you well enough. Many people can't even see themselves clearly. How many dare to say that they completely understand others? Mecha Empire, you might think that we're the same kind of people, but in reality, we're not. At this point, there's no point in saying more. When you let me down, you knew what would happen today. Manason's mechanical force suddenly soared into the sky, connecting to the mechanical troops deployed in outer space. His voice reverberated in the air. "Let me see how much you've improved." As soon as he said that, the black mechanical army penetrated the atmosphere and shot out dense beams of light like a meteor shower, covering the area where Han Shao was. "Just what I wanted." Han Shao punched the sky with his left fist. Light spread out, and an arc-shaped psionic shield appeared in the air. The dense rain-like beams of light hit the blue shield like raindrops hitting banana leaves. Along with the crackling sounds of explosions, balls of light lit up in the air. His mechanical force also rushed into the sky, grabbing the mechanical army on standby in outer space. The mechanical army moved instantly and broke through the atmosphere. Manason's troops immediately changed their target and exchanged fire with Han Zhao's troops in the sky. The crisscrossing beams reflected an unpredictable glow in the sky. Han Shao and Manason's lord's avatars didn't stay idle either. They quickly closed the distance between them and collided. Bang! It was as if a comet had hit Earth, and a blue-gold circular shockwave exploded at the center of the impact. Immediately after, the two figures intersected hundreds of times in the blink of an eye, entangling each other as they rose into the air. Bang, 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 metals scraped against each other, and countless electric sparks flew. As the two of them clashed again and again, shock waves kept bursting out in the air. Just as the two of them were about to fight, the other Beyond Grade A clones all distanced themselves from the troops and ran to the side to watch, not getting involved. Seeing Black Star and the Mecha Empire fighting, everyone finally recovered from the shock of Han Shao destroying the virus core. "I really didn't expect Black Star would actually do this." Maximilian was shocked. By doing this, he eliminated the possibility of any organization obtaining the complete technology of the virtual mutiny virus. Be it the three universal civilizations or us, no one will be able to recover this technology. Everyone will end up with nothing. He was too impulsive. Morniza was a little dissatisfied. Impulsive? "I think Black Star is the calmest guy among us," Sun Hunter said. Sun Hunter said in a deep voice, "Although he has cut off our hope of obtaining the virus technology by doing this, he has made a selfless choice in the grand scheme of things." Kant nodded and sighed. "Speaking of which, we didn't lose out. The three universal civilizations didn't lose out. The only ones who lost out were Black Star and the Mecha Empire. The Mecha Empire was made a fool of, and their stance made the three universal civilizations wary. Black Star, on the other hand, gave up on this easy profit. If it were me, I wouldn't have destroyed it. I would have definitely negotiated with the three universal civilizations in exchange for a lot of benefit. However, Black Star was willing to give up this profit and chose to destroy the source of the disaster. This might be the most beneficial to the peace of the universe. I always thought that Black Star was just a person who chased after profit. I didn't expect him to do something like this. Maybe I was wrong." "That's right." Judith sighed. "It seems like our understanding of Black Star is very limited. He's not that greedy after all." Everyone had complicated feelings. At this moment, Black Star's image in their hearts was rapidly rising. They did not expect Black Star to make such a noble move. Even Jackernitz and the others, who had grudges with him in the past, had to admit that they had a higher opinion of Black Star. Although they felt that it was a pity that they had lost the hope of restoring the virus technology, they did not feel too disappointed. Instead, they felt relieved and could accept this result. In fact, they had a vague worry. If the three universal civilizations obtained the virtual mutiny virus, what would they do if they turned against them in the future? Everyone present was a mechanic. The virtual mutiny virus was the most lethal to them. Furthermore, if this weapon was used again in the future, it would be a heavy blow to the machinery industry in the universe. Their business would also enter a cold winter. In comparison, destroying the virus core was not a bad choice. From this point of view, most of the people present did not object to Han Zhao's decision. They even thought that this was a compromise that was also beneficial to the Beyond Grade as. They just did not know if Black Star had considered this when he made this decision. Then, what do we do now? A neutral Beyond Grade A stared at the battle between the two and asked, "Are we going to interfere?" Black Star and the Mecha Empire have a deep conflict. They're the president and vice president of the Development Union, respectively. This is a conflict of paths. Let's wait and see. As Kant spoke, he suddenly paused. The dynasty's fleet seems to have turned off the space-time stabilization anchor. After fighting for a while, Han Xiao and Manison sensed that the space-time stabilization anchor had been turned off. They suddenly separated and faced each other in the sky. Their mechanical armies stopped fighting and returned to their sides, protecting their respective lords' avatars. "Your strength is improving very quickly," Manison said calmly. "However, if you don't burn your potential, you're not my match. We'll know after we try." Han Xiao replied casually, maintaining his focus. His fighting spirit was high. After the investiture of the gods, the outside world believed that Black Star had two modes. One was the normal mode, and the other was the explosive mode where he burned his potential. Han Xiao did not burn his potential at this time. He had obtained Machinery Great Sage, and the bonuses of multiple gods' trait transformations, as well as several powerful talents that he had obtained during the rescue of Hela. Under normal circumstances, his strength was already very impressive, enough to wrestle with Manison. However, it was undeniable that old Manison was still better in terms of mechanic class abilities. The Mecha Empire's level and God's trait transformations were higher, and they had more mechanic skills and talent. The quality and quantity of his mechanical army was currently inferior to the Mecha Empire's. Han Xiao had the intention of challenging Manison, but because both of them were clones, he would not use his character summon card right away. After all, both of them were army-style mechanic. If they fought, it would be a competition of strength, and the victor would not be decided in a short time. From the previous exchange, he realized that Manison's clones were not easy to deal with. The other party had taken defensive measures against him. His armor and shield were very thick, and his close combat skills were very good. Those who had lived for a long time were indeed talented. Old Manison was a pinnacle Beyond Grade A mechanic, so he would not be that weak. Furthermore, to a mechanic, it was normal for their lord's avatar to be stronger than their main body. Only Han Xiao was an exception. This time, Manison spoke again with a rare coldness in his voice. "I haven't used this move in a long time. Black Star, you're worthy of me using my true abilities." As soon as he said that, he waved his hand. The secondary dimensional army box suddenly opened beside him, and an endless mechanical army instantly appeared, covering the sky. "Bring it on. I'm not afraid." Han Xiao immediately saw through the Mecha Empire's plan. Not to be outdone, he also opened his secondary dimensional army box. Countless mechanical soldiers swarmed out and surrounded him. The size of their mechanical armies continued to increase, and very soon, they filled the sky. On one side was the black mass of Black Star's mechanical army, and on the other side was the white mass of the Mecha Empire's mechanical army. The two sides faced each other from afar, separated by a thin line. This time, a portion of the mechanical army gathered toward their respective clones, quickly forming a huge mechanical construct. Boom! The next moment, two enormous mechanical deities, one black and one silver, suddenly appeared in the world. The black mechanical deity held a long black saber and wore a large robe. Its entire body was covered in a blue psionic light. The silver mechanical deity held a silver-purple trident and wore a cape armor. Its entire body was surrounded by golden electric arc. The two mechanical deities faced each other, and countless mechanical soldiers surrounded them like a fleet of aircraft carriers. Mecha Empire! Black star. The sound waves swept across the entire planet. The long saber slashed down, and the trident pierced forward. The two mechanical deities waved their weapons at the same time. Their huge bodies seemed to move slowly, but their actual movements were so fast that it distorted one's sense of time. The long saber slashed at the side of the trident, and the two universal treasures blocked each other. Clang! The roaring sound of metal clashing seemed to ring in everyone's soul, causing them to tremble in fear. At this moment, a dazzling ball of light appeared at the point of collision and suddenly bloomed, turning into a silver-white lightning bolt that extended infinitely toward both ends. At first glance, it looked like a glowing slash, leaving a burning mark on the retina of countless people. It was as if it had cut open the curtain with the dark universe as the background. At the same time, in the machinery faith settlement on the surface, be it the priests or the ordinary believers, everyone raised their heads and stared blankly at the sky, watching the earth-shattering divine battle between the two gods. Seeing Black Star swinging his saber at the publicly recognized main god of the machinery faith, every believer of the machinery faith was shocked. Seeing the two mechanical deities that they worshipped fight with their own eyes, only one sentence could describe their current feelings: "Wife, come out and see God." At the same time, in the outer space of planet Magnetic Cloud, the main ship of the Red Empire, the commander, who had just gone out to answer an emergency message, hurried back to the bridge command room, came to the piloting team's side, and loudly ordered, "The ruler has ordered us to enter the battle immediately. All hands, fire." The piloting team members were staring blankly at the battle between the two mechanical giants outside the porthole, as well as the crazily rising energy readings on the radar. When they heard the commander's order, they all shivered and subconsciously asked, "Who should we help?" "Pa." The commander raised his hand and slapped the back of the person who asked the question. "Are you AF * King Idiot? The one who helps the underworld?" Chapter 11:22. The aftermath of the collision between the two mechanical deities stirred up the planet's atmosphere, forming a huge vortex. The silver lightning created by the clash of weapons distorted the perception of the witnesses. The mechanical force was like a neural network, spreading all over the body of the mechanical deity, making the huge mechanical construct like a physical body. The celestial punishment edge clashed with the Mecha Empire's trident time and time again, setting off visible energy shockwaves that swept across the sky of the planet, stirring up endless gales. The ground cracked inch by inch, and the machinery faith settlement under the shield seemed to be on the verge of collapse. The body of the mechanical deity was too large and could not be fully utilized on the planet. The two of them fought and rose into the sky, leaving the atmosphere of planet Magnetic Cloud and turning outer space into a battlefield. Their secondary dimensional army boxes were still sending out troops, and countless mechanical troops that looked like aircraft carriers were killing each other. The scale of the battle kept expanding. Clang! The silver-purple trident stabbed straight at him, and Han Shao blocked it with his blade. The powerful psionic impact of the trident stimulated a large area of electric arcs on his shield, flashing non-stop. Celestial punishment edge? That's a weapon I eliminated long ago. In the public channel, Manason's voice sounded. That depends on who's using the weapon. Han Zhao's eyes narrowed, and he twisted the handle of the blade. With a flash of energy, he pushed the trident away with force. However, the trident suddenly vibrated and created afterimages. With the help of the force field, the rebounding force was converted into a driving force. The trident blade was only halfway there when it immediately stopped, changed direction, and slashed again at an even faster speed. This time, the force was even stronger, and it was impossible to shake it off. Han Shao took a defensive stance, defending against Manason's dense attacks while analyzing the current situation. My celestial punishment edge blueprint came from the Radiant Federation, so the Mecha Empire should know the characteristics of this weapon very well. However, my understanding of the weapon in his hands is limited, so I need to focus on defense for now and test more. The lethality of universal treasure-level weapons far exceeded that of ordinary equipment, so the two mechanical deities chose to engage in close combat at the same time. This was the only way to break through the other party's thick shield with half the effort. Old Manison was very wealthy. Han Xiao did not know if he had any space wonder-type treasures, but he definitely did not lack universal treasure-level mechanical weapons, and his equipment was definitely better than his own. This trident and the cloak he was wearing were both universal treasures, and there was no telling how many weapons Manison had yet to reveal. Bringing out the mechanical deity meant that Manison was finally going all out. Han Xiao did not doubt his opponent's endurance at all. If he could not use the mechanical deity for a long time, he would not have been able to use such a big move right off the bat. Both the Mecha Empire and I are here in our avatars. Both sides have mechanical deities, so it's impossible to destroy each other's avatars easily. Thus, it will become a war of attrition, using time to wear each other down. With that in mind, Han Xiao glanced at the interface. Just as the two of them were rolling up their sleeves, a new mission was triggered on the interface. Mecha Empire, Manison, Mechanical Deity Battle. The mode was the same as the other missions to challenge beyond grade as long as he could hold on for a period of time, the mission would be completed. The reward was the same as before, a character summon card and an ability. This was within Han Xiao's expectations. With the 3 universal civilizations and so many beyond grade as watching, the impact of this battle would definitely not be small. There was an 80% chance that a mission would be triggered. Furthermore, the two of them would not be able to determine the winner in a short time, so completing the mission was basically a done deal. Last time, it was just a virtual battle. This time, I'll meet him in real life. I can finally see what Manison looks like when he goes all out. Just as he was thinking, Han Xiao suddenly felt his strength disappear. Manison suddenly stopped his combo, retreated, and made a charging posture. The trident was placed beside him, and the blade of the trident spun rapidly like a drill. The golden mechanical force arc was highly compressed at the tip of the trident, flickering with a dazzling light like a small sun. As the trident spun, rings of surging psionic energy wrapped around it, looking like a whirlpool of blue water. Han Xiaoxin immediately felt a sense of danger. The mechanical troops under his command all fired at Manison. However, layers of diamond-shaped psionic shields appeared on the surface of the mechanical deity. The shields were extremely thick and blocked all the focused fire of the mechanical troop. Whoosh! Manison only charged for an instant. The next moment, his figure suddenly blurred, and he instantly accelerated. The shining trident pierced out at an extremely fast speed, as though it had turned into a golden and blue ray of light. Han Xiao blocked with his blade and raised the Emperor's cape to form a strong shield. Ka! The trident was blocked by the blade of the celestial punishment edge. However, this beam of bluish-gold light was not weakened at all. It shot out from the main blade of the trident, piercing through the shield of the Emperor's cape and hitting the abdomen of the mechanical deity. Swoosh! The beam of light instantly pierced through the body, disappearing at the end of his vision. It left a huge hole in the abdomen of Han Xiao's mechanical deity, penetrating from the front to the back. The parts of this body were all annihilated into molecular-level powder, and the edge of the wound was a blazing red trace of melting. What a strong penetrative power! Han Xiaoxin's head shook, and he quickly judged. In terms of power alone, this trident was stronger than the celestial punishment edge. Not only because of the blueprint itself, but also because the quality of the products of the Mecha Empire was higher, and the mechanical force bonus was stronger. With a thought, some of the mechanical soldiers around him stopped fighting with the Mecha Empire troops, turned around and flew over, turning into parts to fill up the gap in the mechanical deity. The mechanical deity itself was a construct made up of a large number of machines, so it did not have any fatal injuries. As long as it had enough mana and mechanical troops, it could continuously recover. Just as Manison was about to follow up with another attack, the situation suddenly changed. Dense dark energy beams shot out from the side and blasted between Manison's troops, causing the shields of countless mechanical soldiers to flicker non-stop. Their formation was instantly thrown into chaos. The two of them paused at the same time, looking at the source of the attack. The third party was the Red Empire fleet, and countless shipborne weapons were firing non-stop, covering the entire area of the Mecha Empire troop. The dynasty came to help? Han Xiaoxin's head twitched, but he was not surprised. With the Mechanic Emperor as an example, destroying the virus core was a good deed in the eyes of the three universal civilizations, and their image was greatly improved. Although they would not be able to obtain the virus technology, this was a result that everyone could accept. Under such circumstances, seeing that he had become enemies with the Mecha Empire, the dynasty naturally had to express their stance. Logically speaking, they could not sit by and watch an ally who had just completed a great feat of bringing peace to the universe fight alone. Therefore, the probability of them intervening in the battle was more than 90%. The attitude of the other two civilizations was very ambiguous. They were watching the show from the side, with no intention of interfering. The upper echelons of Radiance were not ignorant of Manison's stance and attitude, but openly expressing it was different. After Manison had just shown his intention of hiding the virus and going against the three universal civilizations, Radiance could not possibly provide protection at this time. Therefore, they simply watched the dynasty attack their ally and did nothing. As for Ethereal, it was even more indifferent, happily watching from the side. The troops of the three universal civilizations stationed at the trap nodes were mainly to prevent the Beyond Grade as from taking away the virus, so they naturally had combat power. Although the spacetime stabilizing anchor had been unlocked, allowing the mechanics to summon a large number of troops, and only the dynasty was attacking, Manison could not ignore their existence. They still had the ability to restrain them. Annoying fellow. Manison pointed his trident, and the mechanical army that surged out of the secondary dimensional army box immediately split into two. One stayed behind to fight Han Xiao, while the other formed a formation and went to fight the dynasty's fleet. Army-style mechanics were the most suitable supers for galactic warfare. If it were any other class, they would definitely be restrained by the fleet. However, mechanics only needed to send out a portion of their soldiers to fight on their own to minimize the interference of the fleet. In order to cause considerable interference to the Mecha Empire, the size of the participating fleet would have to be at least 100 times larger. Han Xiao took advantage of the short opportunity created by the dynasty to repair the damage to his mechanical deity. This time, Manison retracted his gaze and looked at Han Xiao. Blackstar, you seem to have improved again. I've been paying attention to you for a long time. The more battles you experience, the faster you grow. Is this the source of your confidence? Have you not fought for so long that you forgot that talking is giving the enemy a chance? Han Xiao did not hesitate, and the celestial punishment edge slashed out. Psionic energy gathered into a cold blue blade of light, slashing toward Manison's body. The highly condensed energy had a solid texture, like a bright half-moon sapphire. Manison did not move at all. The universal treasure-level cape on his body suddenly shook, and a spherical white shield that covered his entire body popped out. It had a hazy texture like a cloud of flowing white smoke, like a bubble filled with smoke. The slash from the celestial punishment edge hit the white shield, and the white smoke on the surface of the shield suddenly accelerated, turning into whirlpool-like patterns. The sapphire blade of light stopped in midair and suddenly shattered inch by inch, turning into specks of light that filled the sky. The next moment, these energy specks of light seemed to be attracted and were all absorbed by the shield. The white shield was instantly stained with blue radiance. Then, the shield that had already changed color suddenly returned to the armor on the mechanical deity with the absorbed energy. The absorbed attack was turned into nourishment, replenishing the energy consumed by the mechanical deity. Absorbing damage and replenishing energy? Han Zhao's eyes narrowed. I've always been very interested in your indestructible body. There are many spells and esper abilities with similar functions in the universe, but none of them can reach the level of your indestructible body. Therefore, I specially conducted some research, deducing your battle recordings, figuring out the principles of your abilities, and finally created this universal treasure equipment specifically for the mechanical deity, imitating part of your abilities. Manison flicked the mechanical armor on his body and said calmly, "Now, it looks like the actual combat effect is pretty good." Han Zhao was a little annoyed, secretly envious. The Mecha Empire could develop their own universal treasures, unlike me, who had no clue at all before I obtained awakening points. Creating what you lack, this is the style of a proper mechanic. At this time, Manison slowly said, "Young master, you're still too young. Black Star, you're still too young. I've seen many talented mechanics. Before they were taught a lesson, they always thought that their talent could make up for their lack of foundation. I've taught many people this lesson before, and now I'll teach you a lesson as well. A mechanic needs to settle down and accumulate. Time is the source of our power." His voice was still echoing in the public channel when, at the same time, a different army suddenly surged out of Manison's secondary dimensional army box. This special army had many different individuals. Some were special mechanical soldiers with luxurious equipment, and some were glowing energy life forms. The combat power of each individual was astonishing, and they charged into the battlefield without fear of death, constantly wiping out the mechanical army under Han Zhao. When these individuals were killed or destroyed, there was no need to use abilities like waste modification. Their bodies would automatically regenerate on the spot and enter the battle again, and their strength would not decrease at all. When this army joined the battle, it instantly turned the situation of the mechanical army upside down, obtaining an absolute advantage. Han Zhao's pupils constricted, and he recognized the origin of this army. Manison's trump card army, the indestructible Mecha Empire. Before he could take a closer look, Manison's apostle weapons led the army of the mechanical civilization and suddenly arrived, slaughtering their way into the battlefield from another direction, causing huge casualties to Han Zhao's army. Han Zhao almost sucked in a breath of cold air. With a rough glance, he estimated that there were about 40 to 50 apostle weapons present. This meant that Manison's apostle life creation ability had at least broken through the upper limit, reaching 40 to 50 levels. In this wave of soldiers, Manison's army had already accounted for 70% of the total, and all of them had received mechanical force bonuses. The Mecha Empire was still able to handle it with ease, and the mechanical force sputtering was terrifyingly large. Assuming that Han Zhao's 1 point of mechanical force could add 10 machines, Manison's 1 point of mechanical force could add more than 25 machines. What caused this difference was not only the strength of talents, abilities, and attributes but also the difference in equipment. Han Zhao saw with his own eyes that Manison pulled out another 4 universal treasures specifically for the mechanical deity from the secondary dimensional army box. The equipment types were different, and not only did the mechanical deity's body expand to the teeth, but after using these universal treasures, Manison's mechanical force strength had an obvious increase. Some class-specific universal treasures had a certain enhancement effect on the user. For example, Han Zhao's King could provide additional machinery affinity bonuses. Manison's equipment was the same, increasing his mechanical force and body in all aspects. At the same time, Han Zhao sensed that the virtual world was being invaded. Manison summoned the ancestor of the AI civilization, Finette, and had it lead a large group of AI life forms to invade the virtual world, starting a tug-of-war with Han Shao in the virtual world, fighting for control of the mechanical army. Old thing, your methods are really flashy. Just as this thought appeared in Han Zhao's mind, his vision blurred. He saw Manasyn's 6 god-equipped mechanical deity increase in speed, and the halberd slash down, drawing a golden arc in the air. He hurriedly raised his blade to block, and the shock wave penetrated his body, exploding in his ears. Clang! The terrifying force transmitted through his arms, and countless built-in shock absorbers were instantly destroyed. Large areas of the outer armor cracked, and cracks appeared on Han Zhao's mechanical deity. If not for the machinery control master he pulled out from Jackernets and the 35% increase in mechanical armor efficiency, Han Shao suspected that the arms of the mechanical deity would have been shattered into pieces by Manasyn's halberd. This time, Manasyn did not stop moving. Taking advantage of Han Zhao's momentary stiffness, the Universal Treasure level wing-mounted planetary obliteration rapid-fire cannon that he had just equipped automatically aimed and shot out thick psionic beams with a diameter of more than 100 meters. Boom! Han Shao was blown away by the series of planetary obliteration cannons, and his shield was shattered on a large scale under the continuous bombardment. Manasyn followed closely behind like a shadow. The trident spun rapidly, and the blade of the trident created waves of light that slashed across the mechanical deity, cutting off pieces of its body. The Mecha Empire went all out, unleashing their full strength on the mechanical deity, mechanical army, and virtual battlefield. Seeing this, the surrounding beyond grade mechanical avatars avoided the shockwaves and felt the power of the Mecha Empire filling the battlefield. They all chatted softly in the channel. It's been a long time since I saw the Mecha Empire go all out. It's still so terrifying. Kant thought of some bad memories. The Mecha Empire is still the same Mecha Empire, Sun Hunter said in a low voice. Mechanical catastrophe. Francisco shook his head. Different from the siege in the flickering world, this is a battle between two peak mechanic. Black Star is completely suppressed. He's in trouble. Luckily, it's only an avatar. Han Shao, who was doing his old job of taking a beating, naturally did not know about the discussions of the bystanders. He tried his best to defend against Manasyn's frenzied attacks and secretly gritted his teeth. F***ck, this old man is really good at fighting. You're forcing me to go all out. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.